Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Presented by Carolina Lightweights. Come grip with us. When the action begins in the studio, our referees for tonight's event are Elgato Azul and Carolina Real Streamers. For the slime lovers in attendance and YouTube and Facebook users from around the world, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live from the Elgato Azul TV studio in Louisville, Texas, it's time! What's up, slime lovers? Welcome to the show. Tonight we have Tim King's cooking experience.
Oh, yeah, baby.
What's up, Tim? Welcome to the show, buddy. We got over here is my co-host, Jamie Dunn, Carolina Real Screamers. This is the King. Are you down with the King? Tim King with King's Catfish Guide Service. So, welcome, Tim.
Man, I'm happy to be here. I really appreciate you asking me to come on and do this with you.
Hey, man, I couldn't think of a better person to have on. I love what you do. You're always on fish. I love that you got a son that's similar to my son's age, and you take a big part in bringing him along as an angler. So,
Well, you've got to.
I think that's awesome. That's one of the reasons I really started following you. But somebody said, "Hey, man, you got to partner up with you and Tim need to do some type of collaborating because." Man, every time I see him, he's hammering fish, and every time I see you, you're hammering fish. So somehow we need to get together and we can both fish and put on some type of fishing show.
Man, that would be killer.
I
would love that. I'm not doing the nighttime though. You can count that out.
I'm not big on the night stuff, except for it's a little bit this time of year because it's 107 here in Texas every freaking day now.
Wow. Oh, man.
It's ridiculous, man.
First thing I got to know is, what are you cooking up on the grill back here, man? You making me hungry.
Man, we got some smoked chicken that we cooked in the smoker last night.
Oh, nice.
6 ounces of chicken, 2 ounces of jasmine rice, and we've got 100 grams of Brussels sprouts with cranberry.
Oh, man.
It don't
You're
get
doing it big. Doing it big time.
I'm on the way, brother.
What's your temperature there? It looks like you got a good tan. I know you've been fishing a lot lately.
It's been in the 90s.
Okay, that's like cold front weather.
All right.
We got
yeah. It's still it's been like in like the mid 90s. Last week we had a nice cold front come through, and it was like in the 80s. It was really nice. But it's been the hottest summer that I can remember in probably the last 4 years.
It's crazy. I stepped outside and this is what happened.
That is for sure.
So it's been hot. I went and got Jackson some ice cream this afternoon. My wife went and checked our garden.
Yeah.
That's your own popcorn, brother.
Man, it's gotten ridiculous. I can't get used to it no matter what. I hear these guys say, "Oh, well, y'all going to be complaining about the cold here." And I'm like, you won't ever hear me complain about the cold in Texas.
No.
How cold does it get there?
We'll get a week or so where it's in the 20s, but that's it. I mean, it's usually our nighttime temps will get in the 30s. It's like optimal big fish weather, pretty much all winter. So that's when we get to do what we do.
Yeah, that wintertime is definitely, where it's at. If you really want to target a trophy size fish, it's so much easier to do it in the wintertime. And you just, everybody's getting enclosures now, but you used to have to man up and, bundle up and get out there and do it. And I'm so thankful for my enclosure. But I'm trying to figure out how to do it for my little boy because I'm probably gonna make him go fish with some of my other friends because I'm not gonna go back in the cold, but he is. He's gonna have to learn how to appreciate it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, you got to make
Yep.
them work for it too, and I think that all becomes part of it. I don't really mind the cold. If you gear up for it, it's not too bad. The worst part, I think, is getting the bait. If
Absolutely.
you allow your hands to get cold right at the beginning of the trip, it's really hard to recover. But I mean, we got technology now. It's people snow ski and they're happy about it. So
Yeah. Well, you know, the other thing too is I know a couple of older gentlemen around here. They don't run any they don't use any air condition here, and he swears that they don't have a lot of the joint problems and stuff because I don't think your body is really meant to be going in and out of the heat to cold.
I think that's shocking.
Yeah.
You know, they say a lot of animals, if you take, like, for instance, it's 107 here in Texas, but inside the house, it's 70 degrees. If you take most animals and give them a 40-degree temperature swing instantly, it'll kill a lot of them. It's hard on a lot of animals.
Yeah.
So,
especially an old dog.
yeah. You know, heat's what's killed most of our dogs over the years. So they get old, and then that one summer, that heat just did them in. So I think it gets old guys too. It got my dad. He got out in the heat, had a heart attack, trying to work like he's a young man. So, but
How much difference is your summertime fishing that you do than your wintertime fishing? What kind of different techniques do you use?
Well, I really I spent a lot of time on my graph. Now, I mean, obviously, your graph, you can go mark fish all day long. Your graph's not going to allow you to catch them, but there are little things on your graph that will tell you if that fish is in a feeding position or not. And so I spend a lot of time riding, and not a whole lot of time riding, but I do ride and look, especially if I've been off the water for a couple of days. That way, when I get my clients on the boat, we can go straight to that area and go ahead and I can scan again, see if those fish are still in that position. But here on the lake, we have a thermocline, so that's something that you have to deal with a lot.
Yeah.
Where's your thermocline at right now?
About 35 feet.
Oh, well, that gives you a lot of water.
Yeah.
Still gives you a lot of water.
It does. So your thermocline is definitely one thing that you got to keep in mind of. Sometimes I feel like you'll see a couple, I call them daredevils. You'll see them dive underneath that thermocline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could see them actually using that thermocline. Like, they'll get on a ledge and orient over the top of bait, and they'll push that bait down into that thermocline to, I guess, it's speculation. I figure they're pushing them down in there because it makes them lethargic and easy. And it's kind of a barrier that bait knows we don't want to go down in there very long, but we got these fish over the top of us, and we ain't going that way. So,
yeah.
I know that they use that thermocline, and they, instead of orienting under bait like most of the time, they'll get over the top of it if they're on a piece of structure, which we're used to the thermocline here in Texas, so we got to deal with it.
Act like it's hot there or something. Gee.
It can be your friend. The thermocline can be your friend. A lot of guys complain about it, but it eliminates a lot of water. And there is a little strip that's in between the top layer and the bottom layer that's super oxygenated, and it's a little bit cooler. So if you can fish that little zone, guys think it's a thermocline, but it's actually, that strip still has oxygen in it. You can fish that little stripe. Sometimes it could only be 2 feet. Sometimes it's like 5 feet, but it can
That's
be,
right.
It can be damn good fishing, really.
So many people are, well, it all depends on what you're in it for. So, I mean, if you're in it just to go out there and have a good time, do what works for you. If you want to start competing in these tournaments and stuff, sometimes you have to get out of your elements, but at the same time, do what you're comfortable with, because if you're not comfortable with it and your gut doesn't sit good, no matter what decision you make, you're gonna be second guessing yourself the whole time.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
That's the biggest thing. Whatever you do, just take pride in it, and you have to own up to it. So if you get your butt whooped and you took 6 hours to catch bait and you got to fish 3 hours and you didn't catch nothing, well, you may have not caught, you didn't do what you came to do, but you learned something. And you need to learn something every single day you go out.
That's it.
I agree.
And,
I tell guys that are starting out, they're like, how do you really take it to the next level? I said, well, first of all, find a style that really fits kind of what you're doing and something that you're comfortable with and that you're having a little success at. And then once you start building that little bit of confidence in what you're doing, then you can add another layer to it. And over time, you learn all of it. You learn all techniques and every pattern and all that. But start out with the patterns that are working for you, where you can get some success.
Chris, I've learned from all my wrong things I've always done. Every tournament I've learned, and as long as you go to each tournament or just any day of fishing, and you've learned something, man, take that and apply it to the next one. It's just that another stepping stone every time.
So Tim, you're a pretty young guy to be such a high level angler. I tell guys it's very difficult to be super high level in what we do because there's just so much that goes into it. So how were you able to ramp up quickly? Who helped you out? Because we all had guys that helped.
Oh yeah,
helped us. So how'd you get to where you were at? Other than just putting the time in, who helped you?
So first of all, my wife, she put up with me for the most part, but I never gave her an option. I was already addicted and really focused on what I wanted when we got together. And, like every relationship, she said a couple times, you fish too much. And, but,
she's like, what could you possibly be doing out there all this time?
Yeah, no, I'll drop clients off and I'm like, oh shoot, I still got like 2 hours before I got to pick the kids up. Let's go fish some more.
There you go.
But my grandfather, he's had a huge part of my success. He's 76. He's my best friend. I talk to him every morning between 5:30 and 6. And he lives on the lake, and it's I pretty much came into the family when I was 10, and he'll tell you the exact story in the fishing trip where I told him I was 14 years old and I said, I want to be a fishing guide. I want to be a catfishing guide. And, like most grandparents, you're going to tell you, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. And I just stuck with it, man. I hear this a lot, and I don't want to be disrespectful when I say this. But I hear a lot of excuses on they can't do something. For a single man that's not married with no kids, if you're not working an 8-hour shift and going and putting time on the water either before or after work, you're not going to make it in this kind of business. Well, I'm not going to say you're not, but your success is going to be very low. I believe so. Because I was on the water, I worked, I went night school. When I got off night school, I was in the water. Oh.
Fish on,
fish on. A rod go down.
Oh yeah, baby.
Hopefully we can see Tim catch a tank. He's been on some monsters lately.
Yeah, I was about to say, I saw that rod go.
Tim, I love it, man. You still get excited like I do. It's
boy, that's something that people don't get to see. Man, when I'm on this boat, I'm a freaking nut.
Yeah. That's the chaos of catfishing. That's really the funnest, I think, is the funnest part of what we do.
I just punched myself in the mouth.
Live TV, brother. It don't get no better than this.
Coming to the boat.
So, guys, if you follow Tim, he's been hammering monsters lately. He put a kid on a 65 yesterday. They're fishing.
Guys.
Oh, yeah. That's a bucket tail. Get you some, boy.
Looks like it's gonna be a pretty decent fish, man. With that.
Yeah, that was a bucket.
Here's
Bucket tail.
here's a little tip if you're fishing by yourself. So, when you get this fish up close to the boat, when you get this fish up close to the boat, he done got a mess. You have your net in one hand, and obviously your pole in the other. You want to pull your fish up past the boat, dip them. Oh, I almost proved myself wrong. Hold on.
After you get them, I like to put that net with the pole, bring them both in that way.
Oh yeah.
He done made a mess too.
Get you some, Tim.
Heck yeah.
I tell you what, that one looked like it hit pretty
I'm
hard.
telling you what, guys. This daggone shoot, I might have to get the channel locks to get this hook out.
So
That's
for
probably
tonight, so what Tim's using for bait tonight, guys, are hands.
that's right.
Oh man.
Human hands. oh no, he's got another bait. He's also using feet.
The, look, the SPCA always has bait, guys.
Man, I tell you what, your pictures made me just, brother.
What are you dragging tonight, Tim?
Oh.
Oh man, he's
He
frisky.
got me slimy. He
That's
ain't
a
big
lot
enough
to-
to get me slimy, but this is a good fish right here.
Nice.
fish.
He's a good about 20, 23 probably.
Yeah, that's
And,
he hadn't been off the nest too long.
no, these
How
fish
long
they're
have
just coming
y'all
off
fished?
spawn.
So what's your water temp there?
83.
Okay, so hell, man, y'all are still probably some fish still spawning.
Hey,
They just got done.
hey, Chris, that's actually our first fish ever caught on the show. I saw Jeremy just said that in chat also. So,
Awesome.
you got the first one, brother, on live.
Get you
Right
some, Tim. So, we got started and Tim was fishing. So, I'm gonna run through real quick. We got Paula Curtis Smith. She's gonna come on the show probably sometime in September. What's up, Paula? We got Becca Mudtramp. Welcome in, Becca. We got Facebook user can't see you. Y'all will log in over at El Gato Azul TV on YouTube or Carolina Lake Weights on YouTube, then we can see who you are. And it helps us too if you'll go over there and sub. We got JTC, one of our Carolina Lake Weights teammates. We got Roger with Muskrat Adventures. Welcome in, Roger. Glad to have you on the Operation Vets with Nets team, buddy. That's awesome that you did that. Rippin' Lips Fishing, one of our Mad Cats teammates. We got Straight Getting Fishing. That's one of our Carolina Lake Weights teammates. We got Song of Songs 50. Welcome in. We got JBN, world famous catfish guy. Welcome in, buddy. Rebecca and Jamie, I don't know who they are, but we got my buddy Jeff Martin. He got on today with Operation Vets with Nets. He's going to start taking people out. I think it's awesome that guys are really starting to support that cause. For guys that don't know what Operation Vets with Nets is, they take veterans out on boat for basically real therapy. So, man, that looks good, buddy.
Yeah, that's something I've been taking veterans out since like 2014, and I do a little bit with the orphanage as well. And that's something that's very important to me is showing these veterans a little bit of of appreciation. I'm famous for going up to somebody and paying for their meal if they got I love seeing an old couple with the he's got the veterans hat on and they're sitting there, they're probably 75, 80 years old. But anybody, any kind of active service or firefighters, policemen, anybody who serves us, just tell them you appreciate them. Especially now, nowadays they get stomped on.
Yeah.
But that's very important to me.
I think that's awesome that you do that, and we're kind of teamed up with Operation Vets with Nets, so we've been trying to help them, and a lot of our guys have signed on with them, and I'm getting some of my catfishing buddies to sign on and promote, and not just promote, but take guys out. So I think it's cool. If anybody's interested in doing that and you've got some time and you'd like to do something for the vets, you can go over to Operation Vets with Nets. You can become one of the joint task members. You can take guys out on the boat. You can also go over there and donate. If you just want to give some money, they're trying to raise money for a boat. Boats aren't cheap. They've already got one boat, but they're going for boat number 2. So I think that's a great cause. And I'm proud to be associated with. So
absolutely. But you were asking me, what got me into it. So my grandpa, he really supported me over the years. And then I started fishing out of a kayak, believe it or not.
We won't hold it against you.
Hold it against me? Shoot. I'll tell you what, though. There's nothing more fun than hooking anything over 40 pounds in the kayak.
Yeah, I got buddies that call it the Texas sleigh ride.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm like, man, they're like, can you be my, I don't know what they call it, the home boat or whatever, and drag me out? And I'm like, I will drag you out all winter long. I would love to be able to video you fishing next to me, because I just think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
I can only imagine, man, hooked to 2 big fish like that, sitting there on that kayak, and that thing's just pulling you.
Tim,
Man.
I got buddies that go out shark fishing that catch 10, 12 footers on a kayak. It's like, that's insane. And they paddle out to the oil wells to do it. They don't ride in a boat. They go paddle out there. I'm like,
hey, they earned it.
I thought cat fishermen were crazy.
I've been trying to get somebody to go with me, but everybody's like, heck no, I'm not going shark fishing on a kayak. Why don't you go by yourself? And I'm like, I really don't want to go by myself,
Yeah, I want someone there to watch me get eaten.
Exactly, right? Get it on film.
Yeah, at least get it on film.
Reddit will let you put it on there. But so I started in a kayak, and then my old boss man, I was working at a lumber yard. He actually gave me a boat, which was if you've been following me long ago, you would have seen it. It was a like a McKee Craft center walk-through windshield. I started on that, and it needed a bunch of work done to it anyway. And then I just kind of progressed up. But my probably one of my best friends is Van Hughes, and if y'all been around the catfishing industry for a while, you know who Van is. Back in 2012, I mean, I was probably around 18 years old, or maybe, anyway, whatever. He invited me to fish with a tournament, and I was actually late showing up the first time ever fishing with him, and I was like,
"You're fired."
This guy is never gonna let me fish again, and I didn't have enough bait either, and I thought I had plenty of bait, because I didn't use a whole bunch of rods then. Anyway, we went out. It was a bad night, and I was like, he's never gonna let me fish again. And long story short, he invited me again, and we just hit it off. And Van is an old school guy, and he knows how to fish for every species in this lake. And he put the time in, not just using electronics. So he has been a huge part of my success. And then it's just out there grinding. And sometimes you get frustrated because when you're doing this, everybody says, hey, I want to do it, this, that, and the other. You don't realize how much pressure's on you until it's there. And most of the guys that come into it, they might do it a season and then they're gone. and it's
Yeah.
stressful on the family life. So you gotta find that balance.
I know a ton of guys that jump in heads first from a different species, and they just the low success rate just sends them packing. Uh, they think catfishing's going to be easy, and I'm like, in reality, trophy catfishing is probably one of the hardest things to be consistently good at.
Oh,
Get you some, Tim.
saw that planer board disappear back there.
There's one thing though about trophy
Man, that pulls
catfishing
out.
is you can just go do it and get lucky, and it will keep you kind of motivated to go to
Like the spawn,
try to get better.
the spawn will tell you how much you know, and when it gets real cold, it'll tell you how much you know.
Well, one thing about these blues is they're constantly on the move. They don't stay in one spot for very long. I know that if you're out fishing every day, it is much easier to target them than if you're a weekend angler who has to go pick up where they were from a week ago. But and you got to calculate all that data over such a long period to be able to figure out where they're going to be when you show up at the lake that day. It's pretty overwhelming when you first start. But
I
the
tell
more
people, it's like Nike. Just do it.
yeah, just get out there and do it. That's it.
You know, I don't know about y'all, but I know after a day out on the lake in a tournament, man, when I get home, I'm just exhausted.
Dude,
Mentally, the whole physical, everything, man.
hey, man, I'm beat up for days. I mean, sometimes it could take a whole week to recover from a good trip. By the end, I wish I had a picture of my hands at the end of trophy season. My buddies are like, I never seen hands look like that.
Man, I'll be taking my socks off and using my socks for gloves and stuff because I just can't handle it no more. Like,
I'm like, I ask my buddies that fish all the time, like daily, Tim, I'm like, how do you deal with the hand thing? Because I will wear gloves and my hands will still get destroyed. I'm like, I need some recovery time for my freaking hands. The bait process, the finger and the line, letting the line out for the planer boards. I get these slices right there at the joint that just don't heal all winter. My knuckles stay bloodied. Guys like rub some slime on it. Like, yes, so it'll be messed up for 6 months.
And you're sitting there begging the fish, no, don't move. Just let me get you picked up and get you back in the water. Man. Your hands hurt so bad.
Yeah, and right when you go to put him in, he's like, my turn. Boom.
That's it, man. It's like, there's that feeling again. Tim, for a lot of the ones that don't know, tell us a little bit about your setup tonight. What kind of boats you fishing on?
So my name's Tim King. I'm located in pretty much right here in Clarksville, Virginia, on Kerr Lake, also known as Bugs Island, where we catch monster catfish. There's that guy right there.
That's the slime machine right there. That's a hell of a good-looking boat, man. I
love it, man. I'm very thankful to have these vessels that I have. Those people who've known me for over the years, you've seen where I've come from. And the amount of hours and stuff that I put into the the materialistic things and just the success. I feel like I do fairly good, and it's just grinding. But I run a catfishing guide service called King's Catfishing Guide Service. We run pretty much year round. We've got there you go,
man, brother.
I can't get at that fish was probably one of the coolest things. And we caught that fish on TikTok Live. We had a little over 900 people watching us catch that fish.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Thanks, brother.
So I fish for Slime Cat Rods. I've been with them since they started for almost 4 years now. Been helping them develop some stuff. And then we've got Nocturnal Nation hooks. I don't tell anybody, you have to buy the products that I use. This is what I use. This is what makes my success. You use what you like and what's comfortable for you. I tell people all the time, man, go to Walmart and buy an ugly stick. See if you're going to like this before you drop $5,000 in in rods and reels, because if you're gonna go 10 times a year, you don't need nothing crazy.
$1,000 ain't gonna get what you got though.
Yeah, my wife reminds me sometimes.
That's what you told your wife, but
Yeah, I know, right? But I'm like, hey, look.
I spent $1,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah, those are good looking rods. I almost went with Slime Cat when I was looking for rods. I thought they just looked so damn good. I never got them in my hands, but one of my guys I fished with, Daniel Armstrong, he was on your team. I think he's with TFR now, but I thought the rods just look cool. That's what I liked about them. Like, they look good, and when I went down the list, they had every feature that an angler really wants. That they're good looking rod. I ended up going with Mad Cats, but
and in the end, it's all about the for me. I don't really care what you use, but I do expect for everybody to respect everybody. And I know we all see this hen pecking and stuff, and that's one thing that's pushed me out of the tournament world. Is man, I come into it for fun. So, not saying I'm not going to come back in maybe a year or two, and my little boy can roll with me.
I think it'll be cool to see y'all fish. But Tim, we get along great. I don't know that we're on any of the same teams, but I mean,
I don't even know, man. I just
care.
Fish and post.
I don't care. I think it's cool what you do. I like that you got a son that's similar to my son's age. You seem to have a good time doing what you're doing, which I think is really the coolest.
That's what it's all about, guys, is getting your kids out there. And I know that there's so many people out there that want to build a name for yourself. And you leave your kids at home because they're a nuisance. And they can be. But
it's not easy, is it, Tim? It's not easy.
it's not. But
you have to sacrifice
your kids are watching.
Fishing. You got to sacrifice some of your fishing just to make sure they're having fun.
That's what Carolina Lake Weights, having that kid of the week, man. That's a heck of a program, and it's something that every time you see that kid of the week, that face, holding up that fish, man. I mean, how could you not love it?
You gotta love it, and I know your son's starting to get really excited about catching these fish, Tim.
No, he's getting bored.
Well, it's hard to keep him entertained because fishing is slow. I mean, when you most trips, if you catch 5 or 10 fish, when you talk about the whole time you're out there, it's a short, small amount of time. It's the actual fish catching. So it is fun for them for that 20, 30 minutes, but then there's a lot of time that's not fun. I mean, it's like, what do they do? You have to keep them.
I've got a special kid. So when he was a baby, he played with minnows. If you give this kid a fish, he will play with this fish for 10 hours. I got pictures as a little baby. My grandpa would be holding them, and the fish would be like a chip. It's dried out so bad. It's like a chip. So for me, buy some minnows, get them to play with something. Finally, that keeps them occupied while you can run the boat. You get all the work stuff done. It's 20, 30 minutes. You get all the work done, and then bam, a rod goes down. You get them fired up. You let them get on it. Don't yell at them. If you lose a fish, who cares?
Right.
And that's all that matters. These kids watch. I've learned. My little boy's gonna be 4 years old. He watches everything that I do 24/7. And so, it's fun, man. I can't build nothing. I can't go nowhere without him, without him wanting to go. When I get home, he's like, Dad, you went fishing without me.
Yeah.
And he'll come out and he'll crank in 20 fish. And then, the next day we go out, he'll be like, nah, you catch them.
That's it.
He fights grandpa over them. He was 3 years and 1 week old, and he reeled in a 68 pounder, all by himself. I mean, he left in the rod holder, and he just cranked it in all the way to the boat. And we had my little, we had our 1 month old on the boat, and my wife, and that's probably one of my highlights right there.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
that's
special
memories,
stuff that will always stick with you. Now he's not going to remember it, but
No,
maybe. But I bet that he didn't get any more excited though over the 68 as he did a 5.
no, it actually kind of ended up being bad because, so
It
that was
kicks their butt,
probably
right? It kicks his butt, right?
no. So it was the most excited that I've been in a long. My excitement level was crazy. Like I was yelling at my wife. I'm like, "You need to be recording this. What are you doing? Record this." So and it's a tangled up mess in the back, and I'm playing musical rods um and all this, and then we got it. I got it in the net, and I said, "All right, buddy, hop down." And he had these little cheap hard rubber rain boots, and when he went to jump down, his feet slipped, and he landed right on his face. Bam! And I didn't see it. I just thought, I thought he, kind of tripped. I didn't know he fell on his face. And I was like, "Get up, you're all right." And so, he cried for like a couple seconds, and he got up. He had a little knot on his head, like instant. And then I got the fish in the boat, and that fish went crazy. And my wife, she screamed a little bit, like or whatever. For almost 2 or 3 months, he was scared of fish after that. You couldn't get him to touch one.
Oh,
And I was like so mad at her, but now he's back into it. But I don't know. Keep your kids fun. Take anybody you can take out. And I know it's frustrating. My grandpa, that's a handful. I can take two. I can take the 10-month-old and the 4-year-old, and I'm good. But I can't handle grandpa and the kids. But
I think it's cool, Tim. Sometimes I'll just pick up some guy at the boat ramp that's got a minnow bucket. I'm like, go put your stuff up. And he's like, "Well, you need me to bring anything?" I'm like, "No, just go put your stuff up in the truck and let's go catch some fish." I'm like, "Y'all been catching any?" "Nah, we ain't." I'm like, "Well, jump on. We'll go catch some." To me, some of those kinds of trips are the funnest.
Oh yeah, and they'll tell all their friends.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I'll pretty much take. I know you're a guide, so it is a living for you. But pretty much, I'll take anybody fishing that asks me. I'm like, they're like, "Can I pay?" I'm like, "No, I'm out here, so I'm just doing it, man. This is what I'm out here just doing it. So you don't have to pay me because I'd be out here anyway doing it, and I just enjoy letting somebody else feel that excitement of catching a good fish,
Oh yeah.
There's really nothing better than a PB.
Man, yeah.
I don't know. There's just something special about the PB. For me, I just love when a guy or a girl or a kid gets the PB. And you must get to do it all the time, man. I mean, that's got to be a huge joy.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, especially when you take. Man, I've got a lot of tournament guys. Believe it or not, they actually book trips with me.
Yeah, they want to learn.
I'm not allowed to post nothing. I can't tell anybody they fish with me because they don't want anybody to know. They want anybody to think they did on their own. So yeah, that's what it is. But they go out fishing with me, and they've been doing this for fishing tournaments for 2 years, and then they go out there, and I put them on their biggest fish. To me, I am jacked up. Like, for me to take you out and put you on a tournament winning fish is that's a like, I don't know, the excitement is just over the top because I do put a lot of big fish in the boat, but to put it on that day when a guy puts 100 plus days on the boat is pretty good. But like this year, we are, I think we're 2 over 80, 8 over 70. We just put our 13th one on the boat over 60. We got to be in the mid to low 20s, and 50 pounders, and I don't know how many 30s and 40s. This year's been pretty good. And so a lot of times kids actually catch these big fish, which is the best part.
That's it.
A buddy says it's best to take a guest that loves throwing the cast net. And I'll tell you, I won't let somebody throw the net on my boat unless it's a really tough day but there's not a whole lot of those, but occasionally you get a day where it takes hours to get bait. And I know you've told me, Tim, to get big cutter shad, sometimes it takes hours and hours and hours. But
Yeah.
you know, the longer you do it, the easier it is. But sometimes doesn't matter how much experience you got. There you can't hardly find a group to throw on. You got to go for one here, one there. It's just like a marathon to get bait. So, but even then, I generally throw the net on my boat, even when I got.
I bought a Garmin LiveScope just to help me catch bait, and yes, it did. It did shave some time off me, but hindsight, I don't think it was worth it. I mean,
you were probably pretty good at doing it the way you were doing it before. So
yeah, it does push me to new new waters.
Right.
I'm a little more comfortable with trying to go and catch some bait, because now I can actually see it instead of having to throw blind. I mean, we all have our honey holes where we catch
when
bait.
You're going for bigger baits, like I know you like to use cutter shad or striped shad, but like when you're throwing for that, what's your technique for finding it? Are you? Let me just guess.
Yeah.
You using side image, and then you find something. You find your big bait on structure, and I'm just saying this because I've been doing it a long time. You've been doing it a long time. Most of the guys I know that are doing it fairly similar. You're finding your bait on structure that's larger baits. How deep is it generally? I know it's different times a year, but how deep? What type of structure are you finding this bait on, and what's kind of your method for getting what you need to get for these big ass fish?
So for me, I'm a morning fisherman, so I'm on the water before the sun comes up every morning. And almost every body of water that I fish in the country, the bait is on the surface first thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of mornings when it's slick, it is a little bit easier. You're hitting those 1 and 2s, but you're catching it. So I tell people, I know guys, they get on the water at 6 o'clock, and I'm like, if you got here 45 minutes earlier,
yeah,
you'd have bait in 30 minutes.
I got buddies that like to go in the light. They'll find the lights when it's nighttime, and they'll throw there, and it's real easy for them.
Here we don't have, the docks don't have power down to them, so we don't have that really that option.
Okay.
Some of the bridges have some lights on them, and that's like you'll find butter beans on it year round.
But do you ever even use those? Other than maybe around the shad spawn or something maybe like that?
I always keep a couple in my pocket. Not my pocket, but I keep a couple in the cooler. So when the bite gets tough, I can still produce some 5-10 pound fish.
But wouldn't you rather take a big one and cut it into small pieces rather than take a small one and just use something that turns into mush?
So, when you're right.
Oh, we
man.
lost the king. We lost the king.
Hey, I was getting a call. Sorry. When you're riding around and so tournament fishing, you go and you spend a lot of time scanning. You're looking. You're scanning, you're looking, you're doing all this stuff. Well, you also, if you find some fish, you want to look at what kind of bait they're on. So if they're on small bait, then you're going to throw small bait. If you're on big bait, then you're going to throw big bait. And you're also, you're looking at that fish and you're trying to figure out, what size he is. All that really comes into play. So if,
so when you're using small bait, will you take a big bait and cut it into small pieces, or you just use a small bait?
I would rather cut a big bait into small pieces
because it stays on the hook, right? Who wants to fish a tiny bait that when you reel up, half your rigs are missing baits?
But if the baby baits is what's in there,
looks like he's got one.
No, it's that brush pile. I just saw it on. We got it back. If they're feeding on the smaller baits, I'd rather have a bait the exact same size like what they have instead of something different.
That's how I do it.
So
like even in thread, for instance, like let's say you're fishing, y'all got thread fin. Most people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're fishing a thread fin spawn. You're up shallow. You're in a foot of water. Are you actually? I know a lot of my guide buddies do use thread fin. They'll thread 2 or 3 of them on the hook and throw them that way. But I do just as well as they do. But I use cutter shad, and I just cut them in thread fin size pieces, and my piece stays on the whole time. Whereas they got to check it every time there's a bite.
My problem is, obviously, our shad is not as large and as plentiful as yours, because when you get a big shad, you ain't gonna cut them up in those strips and waste
Okay.
them. Well, not after you spend 6 hours catching them.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I would much rather have a larger piece of bait and cut it down. And I won't break them out until like the end of the trip, when I'm, really, really struggling and desperate.
Right.
So yesterday was, I had a game plan the day before. I had folks come down from Pennsylvania, and anytime I have people come from a long way, the stress gets high, especially if they just come for one day. And I had been off the water for a couple of days. We went camping with the family, and so I was like, let me go scan, blah blah. Found some fish. That night we got hammered with the storm, and so I already took that in consideration. And that yesterday morning I left the house at right at 3 o'clock to go ahead and catch bait, and I was going to pick these clients up from the house they rented on the lake and make that full experience, easy on them, especially with kids.
Yeah,
And,
that's a pretty cool deal.
That is.
So after 2 hours of catching bait, I caught bait where I wasn't expecting to. So this threw my mind into, this, it changed everything I wanted to do. So I decided to do something totally different. And I went and I did it, and the water temperature had changed like 5.5 degrees overnight. So it shut them fish down. We were getting really soft bites, but the wind was blowing. We had drift sock out, and I couldn't slow down the boat enough because of the current. So the current would close my sock up, and the boat would try to twist, and it just wasn't happening. So we make a drift, we move, we make a drift, we move, run and gunning. And like 12 o'clock come around, and I'm kind of stressed now because we only got 3 fish in the boat, and they're 10, I think maybe 8 pounds is the biggest. And so I was going to make a long run down the lake, and I was like, you know what? My gut told me this was just one of those days where I could have made a long run, about 10 miles and probably done real good. But I just decided to just keep my baits in for every minute and just spend the time with my baits in the water. And we got that big one yesterday, and then we hooked up with another one.
What'd you catch the big one on?
We caught him on gizzard shad, I believe.
Like how big a piece? What cut are you using? Do you switch up cuts? I know Brandon Ladd says if he has enough bait, he's
Not
throwing all heads. He's also there. You go. He's anchoring a lot. So I mean, when you're dragging,
my palm.
what cut do you what do you catch your best fish on? I know you've got a preference. I know it's obviously changes a lot depending on the season. Probably right now chunks are fine. Maybe a different time of season you may go bigger, more like natural size baits. So tell us a little bit about your bait selection and what goes into all that.
So I try to have a little bit of a smorgasbord because, we all know that some days they're pickier than others. This time of year, they're going to eat anything fresh. Now, the bite might be better on shad or might be better on, crappie or perch. So I like to keep a good variety. But I start out, I'll run, I've got 8 rods. So I've got 8 different pieces of bait that I can cut. I got 8 different leader links, corks, and nothing is the same out here. The only time it's the same is when that one rod's getting hammered.
Yeah.
And when that one rod's getting hammered,
you
do
suck it up,
Buttercup. You got to reel those rods in. You got to retie all your rigs just like that one, and let her rip. And you can't be afraid to tie knots.
That's exactly.
A lot of people get lazy.
That's how we roll, buddy. Yep. That's how we roll. Yep. So this time of year, do you chunk it up more? I
do
know.
both. I do. I'll run a little bit.
Will you use whole baits?
I use whole baits. My first
Do you fillet
drag
baits?
is
Because
everything.
I'm a
Yep.
big fan of filleting baits. I like, if I'm going really big, I like big fillets and I like big whole baits.
hmm That's, I mean, especially this time of year with them feeding pretty heavy. If you want to go target big fish, now elephants eat peanuts, and I don't
Yeah,
know about y'all,
definitely.
but I've caught some of my biggest fish
We've
off of
had Micah
small fish.
Burkhardt on, and he said he caught that record off a tiny little. Well, I'm not gonna say tiny. He said he caught it off a sand bass head that was about as big as my fingers. So that's,
Yeah.
for most guys, that's a big bait, but for big fish anglers, that's probably a regular size bait. I, that is definitely not a small bait, but I guess in his mind, that's a small bait.
I recommend just going out there and what's your goal here. So when people
Let me
call
ask
me,
you this, Tim. Do you use bait size to filter out smaller fish? So you use
absolutely.
a bigger bait so that you're not spending time with small fish in the boat. Your bait's out there for the bigger fish.
Yep. When people call me and they say they want to go catch a trophy sized fish, I ask them, what's a trophy sized fish? Some people say a 30, 40-pound fish. And I'm like, okay. Some people say they want, 50 plus. And I'll tell them we can go do that. But you need to realize that when we go targeting trophy sized fish, there's a good chance that we might not catch nothing, or we're going to catch something good, because we're going to run a lot of big baits and we're going to run and gun. So some people, we get that 3-4 hours in, no bite. They're like, okay, let's go catch. Let's just go have fun.
Yeah.
Those
They
people
just
grind
want
it out.
something so they can have it on their phone and share out those pictures.
So in the last 7 years, I've had 2 skunk trips. And get this, both of them were on December 27th. First one was in 2020, and the last one was last year.
So what happened that day that was get you some,
man.
boy?
I don't know if y'all saw that, but he smacked the full out of it.
So what happened on those days? Let me guess. North Front was hitting.
A lot of rain. Both times we got a ton of rain, and the lake was just muddy as all get out and windy. And the last time, the only thing that I could have done that would have been different would have been going shallow. But I had 2 kids on the boat that literally, it was like a jungle gym in here.
When you got kids in the boat, going shallow will spook every fish. You will not catch a shallow. Guys are like, why don't you go shallow? I'm like, I got a freaking tornado on the boat. If I go shallow, I won't catch a damn fish. So we're basically have to go 20 feet or deeper, because nothing shallower than that is going to be anywhere near my stuff. This kid.
Especially if you're going to anchor too,
Yeah, that's most definitely.
For me, if I'm tournament fishing, I'm going to anchor up. I mean, y'all see me, I drag a lot. I mean, I'm known for dragging. But when I tournament fish and people think that I'm just BSing them, I've got this, $3,000 piece of equipment on my boat for a reason, to locate this fish and pinpoint them.
Yeah.
And then the time on the water, knowing how to set your boat up is very important. And I can't tell you how many times, and I feel stupid. I feel like I look like a clown when I take clients out here. I mark this fish and I got to set my boat up, and I'm 30 or 40 feet off the way I want to be set up.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, and you got waves coming over the front of the boat, 25, 30 mile an hour wind. I'm, fighting all this, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like,
"Tim, I think that boat control, is one of the is something that is very important when you're targeting fish, and you have to be precise. I drag a lot, so I call it precision drifting. You are hitting something with precision. If you're 30, 40 feet over, you missed it. You ain't getting them. It's done. You wasted so much time, the setup, and all that, and to reel up and have to redo it all. It's almost like, screw it. I've just spent so much time doing it. So
I can tell you, when we go over certain fish, the way they're positioned, I can tell you which rod is going to get hit.
Oh yeah.
I can
you
call
know,
the bite.
on our live streams, we do that a lot. I'll say third rod, this fish is 57 feet out to the left side. It's going to be the third rod. It's going to be that second planer board. And it'll be about 2 minutes from now, because it takes about 2 minutes, or a little over a minute and a half, 2 minutes to get from when you see it to when that thing is over your bait. And guys are like, no freaking way. And then bam, and I'm like, and it's a 45 pounder, and it's like bam, and they're like, no way. And then 45 pounder in the boat on the third rod, 57 feet. And they're like, I can't freaking believe that you.
Yeah.
But
they, our first episode with the Sportsman Channel, we went over a pair of 2 big fish, and I showed them the 2 fish, and I showed them which bite was going to come first and which bite was going to come second. And the first bite, it slammed it down, ripping, peel and drag, and he just come off. And then he hit the cork. He smashed the cork. And then a pair of eagles flew by, and the camera guy was looking at the eagles, and I heard the planer board just shooting across the water. And
that's a great feeling.
And it went. I mean, it was like a missile. And I ran back down there, reeled on him, and then gave it to the guy. And that fish went from the right hand side, way out there, all the way to the left, back to the right, and back to the left again. And he was 84 pounds.
Wow!
And,
oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah, that was that was probably the only thing that could have made that moment better. I mean, that was my first opportunity to do any filming with the TV crew.
Yeah,
and that was actually my biggest fish on this lake was on that day.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Congratulations on that, brother.
I appreciate it, man. That was pretty cool.
Well, and hey, Jamie's he's going to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. He's going to have to jump off, but we're going to stay on a little while. We're going to keep talking, and you keep fishing. So Jamie, I know you got to go, man.
Yeah,
I know you hate to do it. But Jamie's going to the expo this weekend, Smoky Mountain Expo, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Carolina Lakeways going to have a booth there. Y'all set up. They're going to be set up. I don't know where, but go by, check them out. Say hello to Jamie. They're going to be out there doing what they do. So.
Yeah, we're gonna be right beside the Mad Cats booth there, man. And Tim, brother, I've enjoyed it, man. Awesome.
Yeah, man. Shoot me a text. You got my number.
I sure will, brother. I sure will. And guys, like I said, if y'all up in Gatlinburg this weekend, come by, see myself, Rebecca, all of us at the booth at Carolina Lake Weights. We appreciate it. Chris,
right, Jamie, we'll see you, bro.
Good, buddy.
Y'all have fun. Drive safe, buddy.
We sure will, brother.
Y'all go kick some tail.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
Who do you want to message?
Nobody. Leave me alone.
So my buddy Dimitri, a new buddy, he met me through Mad Cats Unlimited. He came fishing with this winter. He said, I've witnessed it with my own 2 eyes. Elgato is amazing. I appreciate that, buddy. We had a great time. He came fishing with me this winter. He came in town. He was having a baby daughter. He had his daughter, and then we went out and just freaking hammered big fish. Like, I mean, we had just one of those types of trips that was you dream of it.
Didn't he win the 500 for the month?
He won $500, and he's like, man, you don't know how much that helped me with this kid. And I was like, I just love that you won that. I thought that was so cool. So now we're slime brothers for life, and that's what fishing does. It brings people together, and I'm glad that we got to fish together. He's going to move to Dallas, which I thought he was already going to do, but hopefully we can get to fish this winter together. But Tim, awesome. I'm going to come out there and fish with you at some point, buddy. I know you're busy and all that, but I'm going to find a time where we can go catch some fish and just hang out. I'm going to bring my son, so
absolutely
the boys can do their thing, and we'll, it'll be fun to watch those two team up and fish.
You come on out, man. We've got my grandpa's got a cottage on the lake that we rent out to my clients and stuff, and it's just a little just a little open floor plan. It's got 2 full-size beds, a fold-out futon, you know,
Oh, hell
small
yeah.
stand-up shower, whatnot, and it's on the lake. And we can put
Whisker
yourself in
Dream
there.
says Tim King is the Kerr Reservoir magician.
Wow, come on
I'd
now.
have to agree, man. I mean, you're probably one of the top anglers in the country. You know, I love, you know, keeping up with you and seeing what you do and with your son. And
I did. I ranked 4th in the country last year, so I was pretty excited about that.
so, what is the ranking like? How do you rank?
Honestly, I don't even know how it really came down to it. So there's a good friend of mine. He kept track of all my stuff, and he actually submitted all this stuff for me. And I got the phone call out of the blue, and I was like, "What in the heck?" So they called me, and you know, they started naming dates and the pictures. They started sending me pictures and stuff like that. And I didn't even know that there was something like that to do. And I got the phone call, and I was like, "Man, this is pretty cool." And but my wife, she keeps a pretty good track record of, you know, what goes on, you know, big fish pictures and stuff like that. And man, I haven't gotten a picture printed out in probably like 3 or 4 years. And I went to like Walmart.com, and I put like all my big fish pictures. I was gonna print it out, and it was like $300 for the pictures that I wanted to print. And I was like, "No, it'll just stay on this digital."
Jeff says your outside rod's getting bit.
On that one over there?
Hell, I don't know. I'm not paying attention.
I can hear him getting smacked back there, but I don't hear no drag, so I don't care.
Yeah, they're probably just chewing.
Yeah, but man, I'd love to have y'all up. I said we can. That's
Definitely going to make a trip
you.
up there. I told you we were going to do that last year, but
Hey, I understand, brother. Pretty much as long as there's no ice on the roads, I'm going. I used to didn't care then, but these boats weigh a little more, and they're a little more expensive to be backing down the
I'm back.
boat ramp.
I lost you there for a minute, Tim.
I got you. I was saying, I pretty much fish year round except for when there's ice on the roads. And
yeah, y'all get some icy conditions up there. So when does that knock you out of commission? I know there's a little bit of a time where y'all are like, it's hard for y'all to fish because of the ice sheets.
So pretty much, I pretty much book up to the second week of January. And from the second week of January through the second week of March, I usually don't book up much, just because of the weather conditions, and I kind of just do.
Is it just too cold for most people?
No, it's so windy, and
okay,
and like I kind of use that brutal weather time to maintain my stuff.
Yeah,
try to get
caught
caught
up.
Yeah,
get caught up.
And you know, so like last year.
I think we were on maybe Palmetto Cat Show, and you said you were in your catch-up season.
Yeah. And I never even got caught up because like I'll do pretty much like people call it walk-ins. I had so many people back to back to back. Dude, I worked every single day, like through the whole winter. I think there was 2 weeks that it was actually icy conditions that I didn't run, and the rest of it, I mean, for the wintertime,
so it's wind and stuff like that. It's pretty much makes it where people don't want, like, will they cancel? The reason you do it is because people cancel on you, or
so
it's got to be a kind of a pain in the ass when people are canceling.
So the way I do my trips, because you know, obviously you want everybody to have the best weather condition, but you can't control the weather. So I'd require a deposit. That $100 deposit. You know.
Yeah, so they can reschedule at a later date. It basically that $100 deposit kind of locks them in.
Yeah. So if you tell me, you know, a month in advance, you know, hey, look, I'm not gonna be able to make it, blah blah blah, that gives me time to reschedule.
So what's too windy in the slime machine?
It's got to be over 45 mile an hour.
Okay, so you tuck somewhere.
Now, let me. I mean,
Now you can't just go fish the way you want. You got to go. I know, because we got a lot of wind in Texas. You got to
I
go
can,
tuck
but
somewhere.
yes,
and it may not be in the ideal spot to catch what you want to go catch.
yeah.
But you can
This
do
lake
it.
is so this lake is so big, and there's so many different ramps that you can kind of tuck and hide out the wind. Um, um, and I have to ask people, you know, what are you comfortable with? And
Yeah.
people will tell me, oh, I'm comfortable in anything. And you get
Yeah,
out there,
they
and
get out there and they're like, they didn't dress right. I'm like, you
Yeah,
ain't dressed right. Do you bring
yeah.
extra stuff for people that, or do you just expect people to bring to dress right?
Look,
Because
I believe in what's called tough love, and so if you didn't do it, you'll be prepared the next time.
yeah,
There
yeah,
is
I got a lot of buddies that are like, oh, I can handle anything, and they get out there like, I'm freezing my ass off. I'm like, damn, son, don't you know it's colder on the water than it is on the land? It's about 10, 15 degrees, feels about 10, 15 degrees colder on the water.
heck
Uh,
yeah. Well, on the
but if you're not used to being on the water, I guess it's not second nature for people. So
I'm still not used to it. What you
there's
talking
not,
about?
there's nothing worse though than freezing your ass off all day.
No, I
It's
almost
like
got
torture.
frostbite one time, and that just about broke me right there. And then we couldn't get out the boat ramp. We got the truck stuck on the boat ramp because it started snowing and stuff. And that was probably the most miserable time of my life. Like I was ready just to get, I was ready just to put a nail in the
Yeah,
coffin, man.
yeah, that'll make you not want to fish a few trips after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the slime boat, on the slime cat boat, we've got I installed one of those diesel heaters. I'm pretty sure you've seen most people got them now. And man, I can keep that boat up in the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, that's like freaking comfort paradise, man.
Yeah, like people will be in there and they're like, "Look, man, I'm sweating my butt off," and I'm like, "Well, you're gonna have to take some layers off because when I'm out here for 20 and 30 minutes in this 20-mile-an-hour wind,
Yeah, it's
I'm
cold.
freezing. And when I get to come in for, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 10 minutes.
Yeah, you got to warm up quick.
Yep, and I've already, I mean, I've already got rheumatoid arthritis in my hands. And
that's
so this year with having that ability to stay really warm, I didn't have any issues out of my joints this year, and so that was a big thing. You know, comfort is, you can't put a price on it, but once you feel it,
no. All my family members are geared up so heavy. My wife's like, "Damn, you spent a fortune on this gear." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I don't like to hear complaining when I'm on the lake. I mean, I want Jackson to be comfortable." And she barely comes at all. But when she comes, she's geared up just like a guy that's out there every weekend. I don't want her to be uncomfortable because I know how miserable fishing can be. Really fun. It can be also about the most miserable experience of your freaking life if you're not comfortable.
And you know this, that no BS, in your worst condition days are the best fishing days.
Oh, no doubt. I don't know why the biggest, nastiest fish but you won't catch any small ones.
Nope.
It's like but the biggest, baddest fish in the lake, he don't care. He's like, I'm coming out to play.
If you go to one of my YouTube videos, this was when I was on my old pontoon boat. I had a red jacket on. I want to say it was early February, and I had told my wife we had my little boy. I know it was shortly after, like a couple months after my boy. I hadn't been on the water, and I was like, I've got to get out there and start grinding again. And we had just had my little boy, and I had got on with Slime Cat, and I'm like, man, I ain't put no big fish in the boat in a couple weeks now or months. And I was like, I'm going. And I got out there, dude, and it was windy and freezing cold, and I'm miserable, and I was ready to throw in the towel, and then I caught 2 huge fish. And
did you catch them pretty close together?
No, I actually caught them probably about half an hour apart.
Okay.
And I mean, the wind was ripping. I was probably moving like 0.7, 0.8. I had 2 drift socks out and the trolling motor.
Yeah,
on
and you're
sticks
thinking,
going
man,
backwards.
I'm just freaking beating myself up out here.
Yeah. And I was so cold and miserable. I'm like, man, you're such an idiot. And then I hooked up with that fish and your whole tune changes. And then I got that second fish and I'm like, man, I'm calling it a day. Oh, and there was a huge, probably a 10, 15 pound carp still in his throat. And he hit a bait. He hit a bait this big.
Damn. Yeah.
And so that just goes to show you when you hit that pressure is just right. The Bear Magic pressure, when you find out for your body of water.
Get you some, boy. That was slammed.
When you hit that pressure just right, they're going to feed.
You know, these warm water fish, Tim, I have found you can't tell what you got on the line until you see them.
Yeah. Well, I know the trolling motor just picked up.
Yeah, that rod was just slammed.
Yeah, it was. I think he was just real spunky.
Man, I'll catch a 15 pounder that you would think in the winter it'd be a 50. It's like, damn, they get excited in this warm water.
He's a decent fish.
Oh. Fish on, folks.
And
That's the chaos of catfishing right there. You gotta juggle the rods.
Well, hopefully I got a good hook set because
You want to do this while the fish is away from the boat, people.
learn from my mistakes.
Otherwise, you're bringing in 3 rigs at the same time.
Woo, baby. And that's another thing, guys. You got to remember what you're here for. You're here to have a good time. So don't force that fish in. Enjoy the fight. Let the equipment do the work, and just keep the line tight. That's all that matters.
That's what I tell people, Tim. I see people just horsing the fish in as fast as they can. I'm like, you only got about 5-10 minutes on a big fish, tops. I mean, maybe if it's a giant, you got 15, but enjoy it, man, because it don't last too long. Then you got to sit for another hour.
Man, this guy was not making it easy on me. And what I do with my rods, so that fish is in the net, he's secured. I'm all about safety. So I have never had anybody, God, I hope I don't jinx myself. I've never had anybody get hooked or hurt on my boat. I have, but
I've seen some hooks up in your knuckles.
One of the most important things is the fish is in the net. Okay, he's not going nowhere. So calm everybody down. Put your rod in free spool mode and put it back in the rod holder. Don't throw it on the floor. I mean, when chaos is going on, chaos is going on. But don't throw it in the floor. Keep your work area clean. Put it in free spool mode and put it back in there. And don't lock that reel down until once you get the hook out, throw the hook over the boat, and then engage the reel. That's
what I do. But Tim, I'll tell you, I got a little different technique than you, and I do like your technique. That works damn good. To put it in free spool. What I do is I stick that rod right next to my rod holder, and I just grab them both and bring them both in at the same time.
Oh yeah, I got you.
So I would be holding both the rod and the reel, and the rod holder together, and then when I get it in the boat, I put it in free spool. Because I got a freaking 7-year-old. I got it. That kid, he will not open the bail when he gets that thing close to the boat and in the net. I can't tell. I'm like, dude, he wants to freaking open the bail like when the thing's already in the net. And, man, I can't tell you how many times he's bird nested. And I got to be like, he's 7. He'll learn.
Oh, man.
Boom, baby.
Another
post spawn fish are mad when you catch them.
They are jacked up right now. I mean, this fish fought really well for himself. He's probably about 18 pounds. Well, obviously, y'all probably can't see too good.
Yeah, we can see him. He looks good.
Hey, not only did I catch one, but I got 2 fish on the live feed.
There you go. Facebook user says, "What net are you using?" It looks like an RS.
I've been using RS nets for about 2 years now.
That's what I use. They work good. They're heavy. You can step on them. They can handle any fish.
Yep.
I think the bonus is that telescopic pole. If you're dragging and you got one that's coming right in around the motor out the back, you can reach through all your spread and go get that thing.
The biggest pro for this net for me, I would say, well, the biggest con is it's heavy. There's no way around it.
But hey, when I weigh it, it's 5 pounds. I'm a freaking 210-pound guy. 5 pounds. Fish on, baby. That was not quite as good, but you never know till you get him in the boat.
He ain't as big. But yeah, like you said, I don't know why. It's got to be the leverage because it's so long.
Yeah, I like that length and be able to go get them out there. To be able to get them before they get like up in all your stuff, your drift sock that's keeping you straight out the back, the motor and all that.
I think he just realized he's hooked.
I try to bring him in the side where the position you're in right now. That's where I try to bring him in. But a really good one, you just got to. They take you for the ride, so you just got to go get them. I think that's why that telescopic net is beneficial.
That's right. From a guiding aspect, and we probably got some new people in here that don't. Let me turn my trolling on. About to run into some stuff. Should probably turn some lights on before I get a ticket, huh?
Got dark.
For a guiding aspect of it. Never mind. If there's new people in here, a lot of people want to pick your net. They want to pick your net up like this. The way to pick your net up,
you grab
straight up.
Yeah, you straight up and you grab that net.
So you feel, or a lot of times I feel guilty for telling, a guy older than me how to do something. And this net right here, I watch guys pick up 40-pound fish like this right here.
Yeah, no.
Which is,
I stick that pole straight up in the net. That pole
nets are gonna buckle.
Tim, I stick that pole straight up in the net, up in the air. But then if it's a really big fish, I grab the net and and pull it up by the net.
I go ahead and push the button and detach it all together.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep. What depth are you catching them in tonight, buddy?
On the bottom. We're in 17 foot right now.
Okay. That's about where we've been fishing. How do you bring a big fish in the boat by yourself? Well, I think he just that's not a big fish, but that's he pretty much just explained it, Facebook user. You stick that pole straight up in the air. You grab that net on both sides of the net. So you'll grab the net on the right side of the fish and on the back side of the fish, and then you just hoist that thing over the edge.
The biggest thing with netting any fish, but especially a large fish, is timing. It's timing. So when you're bringing that fish in, you've got to watch where that fish is going, and you've got to really pay attention.
You want his head going in the hoop.
Yep, you want don't get overexcited. You know, we all see it happen. We all see it happen when you get excited and you got your net in the water and the fish is still like 3 or 4 feet away. Well, when you put that net in the water, he feels that vibration.
He's like,
He's
I'm out
gonna
of
take
here.
off. And if you don't have a good hook set, or you could have a nick in your line or anything to go wrong, you might lose that fish from that extra jolt or having your drag set
Tim,
properly.
let me ask you this. When you bring that fish to the surface, are you looking at where that hook is hooked? Because that's something that I do. Fish on, baby.
No, that one was a log.
Okay.
I'm
So
going
when you
over-
get that fish and he finally comes up to the next to the boat to the surface, are you the first thing that you do? I'm gonna go ahead and guess. Do you look at that fish where he's hooked to determine on how confident you are on how you're going to handle that fish from then on out?
Absolutely. That is the most important part, is to see how well that fish is hooked. If he's got a good hook set, oh shit, excuse me. I went over an entire tree just now. I've got a log bounced under my boat. Hold on. Okay. Can y'all see that log back there?
No.
Neither did I. I want to see how that fish is hooked. And I tell people to don't pick his head up out the water, because when you pick his head up out the water, if the hook isn't in there good, it's going to come out, and that weight and everything is going to come flying back at you. And no fish is worth getting hurt over. But if it's got a good,
but you'll also lose your best fish, Tim, if it's skin hooked or whisker hooked, and you get him up next to the boat. That's right then is your only real opportunity to be like, do I need to back this drag off really quickly?
There you go.
To be able to catch this giant, or is he just going to make a hard run and rip this thing right out of his flesh and be gone and break my heart? You know, because we've all had our heart broken on a big fish.
Oh yeah. I done got too close to this little graveyard over here. Let me turn my boat. Hey, this is why I don't fish at night. Who wants to deal with all this mess? Yeah, so the most important job on the boat is the net man. And but I like to bring the fish up easy, like you said. If it's skin hooked or whatever, loosen the drag up, let him make his run, and just ease him on back in. Take your time. And I know sometimes, dude, I've had them come unhooked, come off. I mean, like a 40-pound fish. It's happened several times. The fish will pull off, and I'm back here with the net, and I make the client walk towards the front of the boat. When that fish turns and goes down, I scoop him up.
Yeah.
But it's all about timing. When that fish turns, you want his head to go in first, and if you don't have a good shot, don't take it.
Yeah. I tell my buddies, get ready, because this is our best fish of the day, and you can stick him right there when he comes up head first. If you miss, that's your chance to lose him right there.
Yep.
That's when you're going to lose that really good one, because they'll do these big fish got tricks that smaller fish, regular sized fish don't. They got a little figure 8 twist that kind of reverses the way that they're turned, and they'll rip that thing out. They just got some different types of tricks. I mean, that's all I can call it is they got big for a reason. They probably all been hooked at some point.
Well, I don't know how your fish are, but here, 9 times out of 10, a big fish is going to take you under the boat. They see it as a piece of structure, and they're going to take you under. And I tell my clients all the time, I go through my little rod spill first thing first when I get the rods in the water, and I tell them I'm going to bring you to one side or the other. And if I tell you to stick your rod in the water, stick the front of the rod all in the water, you do it. to keep him off the bottom of the tunes. And I've actually had to do this one twice. So the rod up front called a big fish on it. And one of them I had two ladies came down from Canada down here to fish. And the rod up front hit, I never saw it. And it was all the way back here under my on the pontoon, you got the corners. The line was underneath that metal corner. And so I was upside down. One woman was holding my legs while I'm getting this line undone. And the other woman's I got the full enclosure up. She's at the front, and we got this enclosure in the way. And I got the line in my hand. I told her, I said, throw the rod in the water. She's like, what? I said, throw the rod in the water. Do what? I said, throw the rod in the water.
Yeah, it's
so,
tied to the line.
Yeah. So she throws the rod in the water. I got the line. I pull it up. She gets it in. I think that one was 68 or 69 pounds. And then her friend catches, we got another 60 pounder. And that one went underneath the anchor rope. And I also, once again, had to lean upside down and move this rod around the anchor rope to get it out.
Yeah, the big ones tend to like, they know how to do that. They like to go into your drift sock, your anchor line. They get into your motor. I've had fish go around the boat 3 times, all the way around the boat, underneath the boat. I don't know how they know that, but I mean, obviously they know the boat's there because they get boat shy when you're dragging. But it'll go all the way around that boat, and I'm going underneath the drift sock, and guys like, holy crap, I can't believe you're doing all. Like, I'm halfway in the water, but you know that's what you got to do, or you will lose them. And because if you don't do that, you lose those. And
yeah, man, my first 60 pounder, I was with a local guy. His name's Wes Jordan, and we went out. Now, a buddy of mine had a double decker pontoon boat, 28 foot. It was a barge, and that's what we fished off of. And for anchors, we had a 3-foot section of railroad track. And you would let that thing drop and impale in the mud, and you wouldn't move. It'd take both of you to pick it up. And my fish got wrapped around that rope. So I've got the rod. Both of them pulled the anchor up, and then we got it up. And then I'm holding the rod, and I'm holding the anchor rope at the same time while dude had to net the fish. And the fish was wrapped so close to the rope that now we had to pull up a railroad track and a 60-pound fish in the boat at the same time. And but if we didn't have 3 people, I don't think we ever would have got that fish in the boat.
Yeah. You know, it's hard when I'll say I'm not by myself, but I got a 7-year-old with me, which doesn't really help a whole lot when you're catching giant fish.
Yeah.
If anything, it hinders. Now, he will be my net man, and I'd say he's good at 50 pounders and under. But when they get over 50 pounds, it becomes a point where I just got to let him hopefully hold the rod without losing it while I net the fish. But Facebook user says, what size RS net should I purchase? And I imagine Tim's got the same one as me. I got the Catfish edition. It's
yeah.
deep.
I'm 5'7", and first they sent me the Solo Slimer, and when I opened it up, I could stand in it, and the thing came up to here, and I'm fishing off of a pontoon. You can't get that thing over the edge.
Yeah.
So it all depends on your boat. If you've got like a Sea Ark or something like that, I mean the Catfish edition is plenty big. I don't see why anybody needs a Solo Slimer unless you're fishing for muskie, because that's RS net. They designed that net for muskie, and so I can see how you want that bigger hoop, you know, for a fish like that. But I say the Catfish edition is all you need. And if you get the telescopic handle, they have measurements engraved on that handle, which is really nice.
I'll say one thing for you guys that are pulling in big fish with these nets: grab that thing by the net to pull it in. Don't try to hoist it in with the pole. Grab that thing up close to where the fish is by the net and then pull it over the side. Trying to hoist in an 80-pounder in a net is damn near impossible. Even for a big guy like me, it's not easy to do. So grab that thing by the net. You get a pretty decent. I mean, I don't know how somebody gets one over like that. How'd you get the 130 in the boat, Tim?
Oh man, it took both of us to get him in the boat, and then it took all three of us to get him up off the floor.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It took two of y'all to hold the fish for the picture, which I think's awesome.
yeah, and I messed my back up with the 73 pounder trying to get him over the side rail.
Yeah, I think getting that thing over the side rail will mess your back up. That happens to a lot of guys.
Man, you're
the
so,
back
so
injury,
jacked up. You're like, I'm Superman.
Yeah, the big fish hauling them over the side is an injury prone deal for big fish guys, and throwing the heavy net. My buddy Jeff says I've seen Jackson throw a rod in the water. Now he didn't throw the rod in the water; he had a big fish suck it right out of his hands. But that was probably the greatest fish fight I've ever seen in my life. That was awesome.
Did you get it back?
I'll never forget that. He had a 55 on his birthday. No, that wasn't his birthday. That was before his birthday. He broke the junior lake record with a 55, and it was just ripping, man, like a jet ski hung that thing. We were up shallow, dragging, and it pulled that damn rod right out of his hand, and he was like, "I'm sorry, Dad." I'm like, "Don't be sorry, son. We're getting this damn fish." And we got it because thank God we had a planer board attached to it, but we got it in the boat.
I have never lost a rod in the water doing this.
I've lost one when I first started dragging about 8 years ago. Trying to turn, trying to change my course. I made too big of a turn and it sucked that rod right out.
Was that the Driftmaster rod holders?
The old Driftmasters, yeah.
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 I've seen 5 rods go in the water on a single wave.
Yeah. I don't use Driftmaster anymore. I use Smackdowns.
Yeah. Well, the 2-position ones aren't bad, but it was the single ones where there wasn't a bar to protect it.
Yeah, I had the 45s. I mean, you could drift, you could drag, you could anchor, but it doesn't matter. I lost. It probably wasn't the rod holder's fault. It was my dumb ass. So
yeah,
I'm not going to blame it on the rod holder. I was trying to change course. Now, I will say I change course all the time now and don't have the problem, but I'm not really.
I think even though, you change that course, when you've got that crazy big gust of wind, man, it'll flip those rods right out your rod holder, dude.
Yeah, I've looked back and seen my stuff like really swinging, like, damn, I better grab that thing. And, I'll shorten it up real quick, try to shorten it up before I make my turn. But I still make turns. Even though I've screwed up doing it before, I've learned to do it a little better now. But
the only time I get nervous is when I'm on the James and I've got, at least 12 ounces of weight bouncing around. I'll actually pull my rods all the way in the rod holder. But other than that, man, I mean, I'll send it.
Jeff, my buddy Jeff, it was not the birthday trip was the lake record. Jeff, he got the lake record on his birthday, which that's about the coolest thing that could happen.
That was so cool. And what's funny is, I was telling everybody about coming on here, and they were like, "I don't know who he is," and I'm like, "Action Jackson." They're like, "Oh yeah, I know that kid."
yeah.
So, just so that you know, nobody knows who you are, but
that's fine. That's all good.
That's the funny thing, man. And that's what it's all about. But yeah,
I put him first in my fishing, so
you've got to, man. So,
I love taking him. I love seeing him catch them. Now, when I have guests on the boat, I put them first.
Yeah. I mean, he gets to go all the time.
Yeah, I mean, but he likes that. He's like, "Dad, just let them catch them all." And I'm like, "Oh, that's fine." you don't want to catch them, that's fine. We'll let them catch them all.
So for we probably got some new people that are into in this chat in this live feed and whatnot, and there's a lot of products now on the market that I'm gonna turn this light off for a minute before I get bugs in my face, and I'll turn it on. There were no products when I started doing this. You had to make all your own stuff.
Yeah, that's
Probably
for
the same
sure.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Tim, when I started, we were using like kale hooks, bro. They didn't even use circle hooks was a saltwater thing. They didn't use them. We used kale hooks, and like it was very rudimentary type crap. So I love how today it's ever changing, and I love there's so many options for guys to use. There's 10 different great rods. There's 5 different great planer boards. There is countless good hooks. It's what you like. It's what you have.
And that's what I want to talk about is like, these planer boards in the market, man, they're expensive. And yes, some of them are worth the extra bucks. Some of them I just think are just it's ridiculous. But it is what it is, okay? And they're getting that for it. And once you have a really nice set of boards, dude, it's worth its weight in gold. But for those DIY
look like
guys,
B-cats. Are those B-cats or no? Those are those are rooster or B-cats.
No. So when I made it on
those
the
are
Sportsman
Tim
channel,
King specials.
my dad, he said, son, I don't know if I'm more proud of you for making it on the Sportsman channel or doing it with a road sign. A buddy of mine's dad worked for the DOT, and when the signs would get all mangled up or they printed them out wrong, he would bring them home. And but don't feel like, oh man, this stuff is so expensive, I can't get into this. Make your own stuff. We've been doing it for years.
I got buddies that make all their own stuff. They use they make their own rattles, they make their own planer boards. I think that's fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But also, don't knock a guy because he wants to have the top stuff. Or everybody's different.
Drift sock. I just bent that rod holder.
Uh-oh.
I left my drift sock out.
Even pros.
64-inch drift sock versus a rod holder and a 200 is, it's still there, but definitely got a different angle on it now.
Now you're fishing like a Zool.
Man, well, I'm out of my natural element. But yeah, and I get that a lot too, man. I don't think that I'm better than anybody in any kind of way. And you got new guys coming to the thing, and they don't know your backstory. They don't know, they don't know what it took to get there, and they see you having all this nice stuff, and they say, "Oh, it must be nice." And
Tim,
and it is nice.
You built what you got. You didn't start with all that. And it's the same with mine. You build up to that, and everything that you do is for a reason. It makes it easier for what you're doing. It makes your fishing experience better. Is it all necessary? Absolutely not. You can go fish for fairly cheap, but you will have some more. There's going to be some issues. The reason that Tim uses what he uses is because it makes it easier for what he's doing, and he's confident in the equipment that he's using to get the job done.
Yep, and I got a real good friend of mine. He's single. He's got a really good job, and he went and he bought a really nice boat, and people, a lot of your older people, they kind of give you crap, but that's they're supposed to, because you're spending money you should be a little more responsible, in their eyes. But you do get shamed for having nice stuff. And it's, don't shame the guy that's fishing in a dinghy, because we've been there.
I
And I
agree.
don't shame
We've all
anybody
been
for
there.
fishing
That's how
anything.
most of us started, Tim. I've had basically every type of boat imaginable, from the john boat to the pontoon to the to the bass boat. I fished for catfish out of all of them. I don't knock any of them. I just made them work for what I was doing, and I
Yeah,
think that's what guys need to do. They need to quit worrying about what everybody else is doing, and just try to do what you do, and have fun doing it.
yeah, man. I saved. I've actually saved a couple people on this lake. We saved a young boy that actually we were fishing a bridge, for stripers, and it was three boats out there, and me, Brian Sutphin, and Josh Farley, um, we're out there, and um, a boat. It was a tiller steer boat, and he was standing up driving. I think it was three other people that were on the boat. And when he went under the bridge, I guess he turned to look at us, and he had like a tobacco stick attached to that tiller steer, and he turned the motor a little bit, and it threw him right out.
Oh
And
man.
there was two other boats there. One of them was Curtis. We and I when he got thrown out, it turned in a circle, and I saw his body from his navigation lights fall out. And
Oh my
it
God.
was cold too. The water temperature was still in the 50s, and the air temperature was probably in the 40s. Um, and I started yelling at Curtis. I was like, "Man, that guy fell out," but he didn't know what I was saying. Anyway, we rode over there real quick, and the dude went underwater two or three times, fully clothed. And I was driving Josh's boat, and I told Josh, I said, "Man, I'm coming in hot." If he'd already been underwater for about 4 seconds the last time he went under. I told Josh, if you don't grab him, he's done. And dude went underwater, and Josh stuck the net down there and grabbed a hold of him.
Damn.
And
That's freaking awesome, man.
it was crazy, man. Curtis came over. We all helped get him up on the bass boat, and the kid was like 18 years old. Um, so
Yeah. You
and then we
saved
went to
that
go back.
kid's life.
Oh yeah, man. And because I remember Josh was like, his trolling motor was down and his live scope was in the front of the boat, and I'm just, I'm hammered down. And, water's about to come up. We're on a smaller boat. Water's like at the edge of the boat. He's like, "Man, let me get my stuff up," and I was like, "Man, screw your stuff," and about to break his shaft off. But we got him. You know, basic CPR, try to get him calmed down and whatnot, and then we got him taken care of, and I was like, "Let's go fish." And one of the boys with us, all the boys that were involved in it were younger, and they were literally in shock, like they couldn't imagine what they had seen. And me, I'm just like, "Let's roll," you know. And I'm like, "Let's go fishing." And he's like, "Dude, that guy almost drowned." I said, "But he didn't." I said, "Look,
Yeah.
God put us here for a reason.
Let's
We just
celebrate.
saved his life, and God's gonna bless us." He was like, "Man, you're messed up in the head. You're messed up in the
No,
head." I was
that's
like, "I'm fishing." So my next cast, I hooked up. Brian casted. He hooked up. Josh is like, "Oh, okay." He throws and catches a catfish. And
Yeah, God was
but
on your side that night.
yeah.
You better get busy.
But I seen it was a day that really I probably shouldn't have been on the water either. But when you're out there, I like to push my limits by myself, so I know how to take my clients out when we get caught in those positions. It was 50 mile an
Tim,
hour
let me
winds.
ask you this though. You take your kid fishing a lot. Do you
Mhm.
ever find yourself out there where you're like, damn, I might not ought to be out here with this kid?
Nope, only once, and we got caught in straight line winds, 70 mile an hour winds one time, and
Damn,
he
that's
was 6 months
impossible to
old.
deal with.
Dude, it was the craziest thing ever. It was actually 4th of July weekend. We were camping and we went and hung out with some friends, and I heard the thunder and I saw the storm miles away. And I told my buddies, I said, "Look, we're gonna head on in. We'll see you later." I didn't make it a quarter mile. That storm came across the lake, and it came so fast that you could not outrun it. And when that storm hit us, I had waves coming over the side of my boat and the front of my boat, and my wife was yelling at me. She's like, "You need to go over there to those people on the dock." I was like, "Look, I need you to just be quiet and let me drop the boat right now."
because they ain't gonna do nothing for us. And man, it broke my Bimini top, and the metal was like beating us up in there. We got my little boy; he's 6 months old, and my top ended up breaking and getting caught around my prop. And my friends, they watched the storm catch us, and then we just disappeared. They thought we sunk.
Yeah.
And but other than that, man, if you go to my TikToks, dude, man, I take him out in some stuff that I've gotten banned off of TikTok too because of safety reasons. But when you do this
So,
every
like,
day,
what will get you banned? Because I mean, guys are like,
Um,
man, I can't believe you're out in that. And I'm like, this is normal for Texas. We got big
Yep.
wind. You guys say you're out in 35-mile-an-hour wind. I'm like, this is right at our limit. But yeah, this is normal for us. I mean, if you're gonna balk at 30, 35-mile-an-hour wind, you're gonna be missing about 25% of our fishing trips here in Texas.
yeah,
I got the boat for it. I got a big bay boat, so it's not like it's. I mean, it's made for pretty big water, but guys are like, are you going to be all right? I'm like, yeah, this is normal for us. I mean, we handle a lot worse. So
it's just somebody. It's just a viewer who thinks that you're unsafe and they report you, and that's pretty
Okay,
much all
so-
it comes down to. I get flagged all the time for
so that's a TikTok thing because I've never been flagged on
yeah.
YouTube. or anything.
YouTube has been a lot more lenient now than it was when I first started.
You don't get
YouTube.
nearly as many views on YouTube as you do TikTok, though. Is that?
That's true. And for me, I just got internet, but I haven't had internet, cell service, or anything at home in the last 3 years. So
the YouTube community is mostly fishing, like the angler community, and I think maybe the TikTok could be who knows who might tune in, right?
yep, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you got people that come in there and they complain, and you got good Monterey's that can kind of catch it fast enough. But I don't, I mean, you know how it is. You can't stay involved in the chat and fish, run the boat, and everything all at the same time.
No. I tell guys, I'm like, I'll go for 30 minutes where we're just hammering big fish after big fish. I'm like, I look back, I'm like, damn, I missed 30 minutes of this chat. Because
some people get upset.
They're like, damn, I've never seen somebody work so hard in my life as you on this boat, Chris. It's total freaking chaos. I'm like, they're like, how do you do it? I'm like, but this is really what it's all about. It's that chaos time.
Oh yeah.
When I hear guys say, "Oh, bumping," and I like bumping. I'm like, yeah, but bumping, you got one fish on. When I'm dragging, I might have 5 or 6 big fish on. On my best day, I'll have 6 on at the same time, big ones. And they're like, I can't believe what's going on right now. This is freaking mind blowing. So
the only thing bumping that I want to do, and I just talked to a guy the other day, and I'm gonna try to get it with him this winter. I want to bump on the kayak. Now that would be gnarly.
yeah, I know some guys that bump on the kayak and they do pretty good.
That initial thump and then rip on a kayak. Oh my God, it's so great. Like a suspended bite in the kayak, dude. It's intense. The
Fishing Fever says, I wish Tim was still on YouTube. LOL.
Well, I've been talking about coming back. We just got Starlink internet about 2 months ago, and it's working pretty good. I get a lot of business off of YouTube. TikTok, I've got 34,000 followers, and I may have booked like 2 or 3 trips off of there.
Yeah,
It's
not
saying
an
that they don't.
entertainment thing. It's not really fishermen.
Not saying that they don't, tell the people, hey, check out this guy, but actual viewers coming out versus viewers on YouTube. It's a community, and a lot of your viewers on YouTube, they have the same passion, I feel like.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot from guys that do both. They'll say, yeah, I get so much more people that watch the TikTok, but they actually enjoy the YouTube side more because it's more anglers wanting to learn or more interested in the actual fishing part rather than the show.
Yeah, and that's something I get a lot too, man. I mean, you mentioned it earlier too. You take people out fishing, and it's different. It's different for you than me because I'm doing this for a living. A lot of guys, they'll call me up and they'll ask me, where'd you catch your fish at yesterday, or what are you doing this week to get on fish? And I try to tell people I'm not being rude, but you got to go figure it out on your own
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this is what I do for a living, and I've already been burned twice. I've helped out
yeah.
people, and then they turn around and open their own deal.
It's not your place to teach everybody, your deal.
Now,
But
when
I
you
do
book a
have a
trip
lot
with
of
me,
guide buddies.
you get to learn.
I do have a lot of guide buddies that will share with me, but they might not share with the regular guy because I give back as much as I ever asked for. I think some guys, they just want to take from you. They're like, "Where'd you catch the fish?" so that they can go fish that spot.
Yeah.
But I got buddies on here that are on here tonight that that I try to bring along and teach and how to catch these big fish. I'll tell them exactly where I fish, but there is a certain point, Tim, where I'm like, "Hey, buddy, I've given you enough of the locations. I've given you all the information. It's time now that you put everything that I've given you, uh, take all that and start doing it for yourself." And
Yeah.
you're going to get a lot more out of it if you go do it yourself rather than if somebody just gives it to you. But I do totally understand a guy that's trying to do it for a living that's not. They don't want to just give everybody all their hard-earned stuff.
And that's why I tell people too, when you're on my boat, no, I might not be straightforward about things, but if you're out here to learn and you're paying attention, you'll pick up on a lot of tricks that I do that you won't see anywhere else. Or in my mind, you're not going to see anywhere else. Um, so I have people, dude, I do it. Now that I do the whole guiding thing, if I want to take grandpa on a trip, man, I don't haul the boat to Tennessee. I hire a guide and I get to relax.
Yeah, that's how I am. I'm like, damn, I could drive my boat all the way down freaking 500 miles and it costs me that much in fuel, or I can hire somebody else that's going to go get the bait for me, put me on the fish that he was on yesterday. I don't have to go put in an hour and a half of scanning. It's like
the risk of blowing an axle.
They're like, you still go get guides? I'm like, I have no problem going and getting a guide if I'm going someplace to travel fish. I enjoy it.
Well, and you learn something. I mean, so that's the thing. Even when I have people, I'm going to say, I've got a friend of mine. He came out. He met with me. Well, his name is Sean Fitzgibbons. He's probably in here.
Yeah, Sean's one of my guys.
Yeah. Man, we met and hooked up catfishing. And Sean, I don't remember. I think it was like January when it was freezing cold. And we were out there in kayaks. And, Sean, I think he's from, I don't remember where you're from, Sean, New York or something. And, or he'll probably put it in there. Anyway, he was new to the catfishing thing. And man, me and Sean are best friends now. And, but he's one of those people where if he called me right now and said, "Hey, where'd you catch that fish?" I'll tell him because he puts the time in and he's learning and he also helps me.
Yeah, that's how I do it, Tim. I enjoy helping those guys like that. I really, when they figure it out, to me, it's a feather in my cap that I helped them do that.
Yeah.
I enjoy helping guys. I don't want to just give everything, just give it away. If you're not trying to learn, I don't like just giving you the spot. But if you're actually trying to figure it out for yourself, I love helping those types of guys. It's actually one of my favorite things to do is to bring guys along. I've got guys in here that I've brought along. One of my buddies, Jeff Martin. I don't know if he's still in here, but I've helped him tremendously figure these big fish out. And when he finally figured them out, I'm like, yes, I freaking love it, man. That's awesome because, when I was starting out, guys didn't help each other too much. It was all kind of secretive. It was all back room, good old boy. I'm not going to teach you all my spots or all my secrets. I'm going to keep it hidden.
Yeah.
But,
and, in a sense, I know some people get irritated, but they got to respect it. And I help people. There's another guy. Man, I would see this guy every morning on the water, every morning, like just as much as I was out there. And I would talk to him and he won't catch nothing. So I went and I checked out his rigs and I was like, all right, do X, Y, and Z. He went out the next day. He caught a 30. Very next day, he called me up. He was so excited. He was like, man, what you did helped me. And I worked with him because he was out there every morning grinding that I was just by himself fishing, trying to learn. And, I built a really, really great friendship over it. And, and he got to sharpen his skills. But when I see somebody putting the time in, man, I help them out.
I love helping guys, but one thing that is required for the guys that I help is you got to return the big fish to the water.
Yes.
If you're not going to be big fish conservation minded, you're not going to get anything from me.
That's exactly right.
I will give you everything as long as I know you're putting them back. I will tell you and bring you along as best I can because I think it's cool if you're putting them back. I mean, what do I care? As long as they're going back in the water, I think it's awesome. Catch them all you want.
I tell my clients, anything up to 20 pounds you can keep. Anything over 20 goes back in the water. And, I occasionally I have let somebody keep like a 25 when you're on that big fish day and you can't catch a small fish. At the end of the day, they want something to eat for their meal. So I have let somebody keep a 25-pound fish before. But generally anything over 20 pounds goes back in the water. And, these fish, some people say that I'm crazy, but how tall are you? You're a lot taller than me if I remember right. Yeah, I'm 5'7". So, everything has genetics and, same thing with the fish.
Most definitely. Yeah. So, when you're talking about an apex type predator, the biggest ones are the ones that, put out their genetics the best. And if you're taking the biggest one out of the lake, even if it's just one of them, you are doing damage to the fishery. Just one. So putting back all those big ones, you're really servicing the lake, not just for the big fish, for the eaters, for the kids that are coming up in 10 years from when you're fishing. It's just, there's countless things that are good about being pro big fish conservation oriented.
And that was why we didn't get that big fish certified. So when I caught that fish, at that time, I was on a boat with a 50 horsepower motor. And so I actually have a toolbox to hold a fish that size. The day before that, I had a group of 5 people. And I took that toolbox off to get more space. The morning that we caught that big fish, I went out there to pick my toolbox up, and I've got 2 bulging discs in my lower back. And I picked it up, and they don't weigh much, but I picked it up, and I just didn't feel right. And I was like, yeah, forget this thing. I'll leave it here. And I left it at home. And we caught that fish on a Monday, and I made some phone calls. Of course, everybody's at work. And one of my best friends called me back literally when we let it go. I mean, Jay was still on his knees from where he let it go, and Sheldon called me, and I was like, man, we just got him. We just got him. He was like, where you at, man? And I told him, he's like, man, I'm like 10 miles from you. I'm like, what? We just let them go. But you know, the three of us, Jay Smith and golly, I'm running a blank now. Hold on, I'll think about his name. But you know, they're avid fishermen too, and they wanted to learn how to drift fish. So I took them out and we targeted, and I actually repositioned my drift sock twice to get this drift that I wanted. And we went out there and we caught that fish, and they're avid fishermen too. And we just agreed to get our measurements and the weight and put them back instead of stressing them out, because I was so far from a dock. And we left him in that net for about a minute just to clear the boat out. And when we got him in the boat, the fish was already bruising from sitting in the net in the water.
Yeah.
So we made a call to let that fish go. And I don't regret it. I do wish I knew what the official weight was. Our fish was 65 inches long and 40 and a quarter or 40 and a half inches around.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But, you know, another thing that I want to mention real quick is I don't get on social media a lot. I just post. I don't stand much. But I do see where when you catch a big fish, that's your fish. You have the right to do whatever you want to. And if you see somebody that catches, you know, a 50, 60, 70-pound fish and they caught it and they ate it, don't shame them in their comments. Send them a message and try to educate them a little bit. And, you know, and be nice, because in the end of the day, that's their right to do what they want with that fish. They just might not, they might just be your weekend fisherman who's just out having a good time, and, you know, and they caught a giant. And I think being nice to people on all their catches, and you know, maybe send them a private message, and, you know, give them educate them a little bit on how the genetics work, goes a lot farther than bashing people.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. There's also nothing wrong with standing up for what you love.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I respect guys probably is more for standing up for what they believe. I think big fish need to be respected, Tim.
Yeah.
You know,
But if you got Joe Blow
to
that
get a 70,
you know,
80 pounder, 90 pounder, that thing has been in the water as long as most of us have been alive.
yeah.
Turn that thing into Tuesday night tacos is like a crime. It's really a crime. You know, to say, okay, I caught this fish. Now I'm going to cook it and make tacos out of it. Now, it is your right. I'm not going to say it's not your right, but I think for a guy to stand up and say it's probably not right to take that fish out of the water, I respect that more than the guy that says, well, it's my right. It's within my regulation that I can take it. It is within your regulation, but just because it's lawful doesn't mean it's right. And I can guarantee you, just me, if it were just me, if I were to be turned loose on my fishery to keep fish, I could single-handedly destroy my fishery. Would just
absolutely.
Single-handedly, I could just destroy my fishery. So I think it has to be something that the anglers are going to embrace. It happens very slowly. I think a lot of old guys are still stuck in their old ways, but most of the new guys that come on think similarly to us, and they want to try to continue to do the way we do. And if you want to catch eaters, there's nothing wrong with that. I can go catch enough eaters in one trip to feed my family for a month or two.
Yeah.
In one trip. It's not like they're very difficult to catch.
And
but
that's
big
exactly
fish,
what happened to Santee. The guys let them
Exactly.
keep
They
everything.
hammered that thing for 20 some odd years and kept
Yep.
every big fish out of it. So
And,
it
and
went.
now when you talk to those old guides, they'll tell you, man, I wish I didn't do that. But their mistake is our gain, in a way. But I mean Santee, and it's still good. Every time I go there, man, I have an absolute blast. But it's not like it was.
Yeah. But the thing with these catfish is they will recover. It just takes a long time for a fish to get to be really big. It takes 20, sometimes more to get big. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Catch, photo, release.
that's right, baby.
Yeah, and I think I have in our area, I have seen tremendously where it's a lot less fish being kept,
Yeah.
and the other side of it is that we do need people to catch eaters and thin it out, because if you don't keep any fish, what happens in a pond? And these are nothing but big ponds.
I agree.
And
I think that if you will release the big fish, Tim, that there will be a ton of little fish to keep. If
yeah,
you keep the big fish, there's not as many small fish for people to keep. So by being big fish conservation oriented, it's good for both eaters and for guys that just want to catch them for sport.
yeah. So that big fish that we caught, I talked to a biologist about 2 weeks later. He called and talked to me for a while, and he told me that fish, that size, will still lay eggs.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, I hear a lot
mean,
of
I didn't.
guys say, "Oh, that fish was on the last of its life cycle," and I don't proclaim to know everything there is about catfishing, but I have heard that catfish don't have a lifespan. They can grow and fit and live as there is no real lifespan for them. They don't have any size that they grow to and then stop growing. They will grow and continue to grow as long as they're healthy. Uh, so I know there's stories of fish that were 400 pounds back in the 1800s where they were as big as they got pictures of them in the back of a damn wagon, and I know there was a world record at one point that was caught that was not weighed properly, that was several hundred pounds. So I know that they have the capability of getting bigger than what any of us have seen. And with the amount of anglers now, it seems like the records just keep getting broken. Now, I don't know how long this is going to keep going, because at a certain point, the stress, might.
Well, and that's what I'm experiencing here a lot. And sometimes if I try to say something, I kind of get like blown off because they say, "Oh, you're just a guy. You're worried about the money part." But here you have a tournament at least 2 to 3 times a month now.
Yeah, that's hard on a fishery with that
it's
many
getting
top
hammered.
level guys that can go out and catch the best fish in the lake. I think that does have some type of strain on them, because it is a strain on them when you catch them.
Yeah, well, and I'm noticing a lot more fish with missing eyes.
Oh yeah,
Bones are broken
definitely.
off of their sides from
A lot of our
getting beat
biggest
up.
fish have a missing eye, and I'm like, well, there's only one thing that I know that makes a fish miss an eyeball, and that's when
a
he's
kale
caught.
hook.
That's when he's caught by a pretty good sized hook at a certain age. When they get giant, they're not going to lose that eye, but
Yep.
when they're smaller, that hook is perfectly oriented towards their eye. And I've caught a bunch that lost their eye, and I've caught a bunch of giants though that are missing an eye. So I know they can handle losing an eye and continue to keep growing. So just because they lose an eye doesn't mean I should keep this thing, because I've caught 50s that a hook could get nowhere near that fish's eye. 60s, 70s, fish could get nowhere near that hook could get nowhere near his eye. It must have been caught when he was smaller. And they survived fine and continued to get big and thrived and turned into a giant. So CPR works. I've caught the same fish as my friends, and I see it 3 years later, and same fish, same markings, and it's continued to do well. So I do hear a lot of the old timers say, "Oh, you catch that fish, it's so stressed out. By the time you turn it loose, half of them die anyway." I don't believe that's the case.
Well, and that's, I'm out there fishing and I stress them too with what I'm doing. And, no doubt. I don't mind the tournament so much in the wintertime. It's these hotter months that I don't like seeing.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they get
you've
stressed
got,
out super quick when you bring them into the boat. Even by the time you get them back in the water, they're like, "Damn, get me back in this water, boy."
yeah.
Yeah.
In most of our tournaments here, you got it's roughly 60 boats. And I would say, a solid 25 to 30 of them boats are really good, experienced anglers. And
Yeah.
they're going to bring in a 40-plus fish or two. So in one night, when you've got, 50 fish or 40, 50 pounds, sometimes in the live well for 2 hours, sometimes in live well for the entire time. And, but, in the end, we've all got the same goal, catch big fish, show it off, fish tournaments. And, things will get better with time.
Yeah, I agree. It seems to be getting better. It's growing as a sport. There's more guys that are more interested in doing it the right way rather than. But there's still quite a few guys that enjoy pissing people off by keeping big fish and hanging them in their barn.
Oh, absolutely. It's just, and that's just how it's going to be. But
yeah.
I think there's more of us that are, protecting them than not protecting them now.
I see more guys that see kind of what you're doing and they look up to you and they're like, "Well, hell, I'm going to do it like him because Tim's killing it." And if I'm going to do it big, I want to do it like these guys that are doing it big. I don't know anybody who's really just hammering them who keeps anything really that's a good size.
Yeah, it's just a learning curve. We're all gonna make mistakes, and growing up, man, my grandpa didn't let nothing go.
Yeah, we kept them all. Up until I was probably, 17, 18-year-old, and then I was like, you know what? These guys I look up to in the bass industry, they turn loose the big fish. I'm gonna start doing that for catfish. And I told my dad, "This is a lot." He's like, "Why don't you bring one of them big old flatheads home?" I'm like, "I brought one home. It's about 40 pounds." I'm like, "This is the last one you're ever getting from me. So enjoy it."
Yeah, especially a flathead. I don't know about your body of water, but ours, the flathead fishing, man, it was so good in 2012, 2013. That was back when I was going to school. And, man, I'd get out of school, and we would just crush them every night. And you could catch 30, 40, 50, 60 pounders.
Yeah, I think flatheads have declined because they just don't produce prolifically. When you take a big one out, it makes a difference. And a lot of guys that were catching them were taking them out.
And what happened up here is there's no regulation on flatheads in our waters. And so they go up the rivers to spawn. We got two rivers that feed this lake. And they went up there to spawn, and they dropped the lake so fast they got trapped. And people were taking them out. They were spearing them, gigging them, catching them in cast nets, and taking them out by the truckloads.
Yeah.
And I'd say
Yeah.
in the last 2 years, 3 years, it's finally getting good again.
Yeah, it takes a good 10, 15, 20 years to recover from some type of thing, some type of event like that. So
Yeah, because
my
this year will be 10 years now.
yeah, my lake when I was a kid, it was the greatest flathead lake in the country. There was 70, 80, 90, 100 pounders coming out of it frequently. Now you hardly ever see that. Now guys are like, "Oh, it'll return." I'm like, there is a point where if there is genetics left in the lake that it will return, but for flatheads it's a little different. If you continue to hammer all the big ones out of there, uh, I don't know that it really recovers really quickly, in a 10-year span because uh, there's just not as many of them in the lake, and I just think they're a special type of creature.
Absolutely. And that's so we used to have big stripers in this lake. Same thing back in the 80s, early 90s. They were netting them and gilling them and selling them. And we lost that, we lost that genetics.
Yeah,
And Vision Game is stocking them and blah, 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 blah. But it's not, I'd be surprised. I don't think we're ever going to see big stripers in this water like we used to.
yeah. I think stocking them is one thing, but there's just something about a certain type of genetics that gets in these certain fisheries. It's just different than what the baseline genetics of stocking program is. They're not all the same. Catfish are not all the same. Some of these fisheries have a little higher genetic pool in them than others. I mean, what makes Wheeler have so many 100 pounders? It's not that different from 15 other lakes that don't
They
produce
have
anything.
skipjack at the yin yang. Yeah. But no, you're right.
But there's other fisheries on the Tennessee that have skipjack out the yin yang that don't produce like that one does.
Yeah.
I don't. Jeff says we don't have a great river system feeding our lake, and that's definitely part of it. Like Wheeler, that water's being changed constantly because that gate's open, even when there's low. Like there's times a year when our gates aren't open at all. The lake's dead. There's no movement. There's no current. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a river lake, so it's definitely has current. It's similar. I would say our best lake is probably Texoma. It's constantly got some type of flow and current. It's deep. It's a river lake, uh, but I don't know. Not all fisheries are created equal. You're on one of the best in the country. What makes yours better than the one that's right next to it, who's not that far from you?
Yeah, I mean Lake Gaston used to be a really good fish, and Lake Gaston still is a big fishery. But Lake Gaston, the 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 house population on Lake Gaston is more than here. I mean, they're right on the water and they're next. I mean, you can't take a leak without somebody seeing you.
Yeah,
And you got so many. Lake Gaston is an expensive lake to live on, just like up in Tennessee and Smith Mountain and stuff. And I think on those expensive lakes where you have I say expensive lakes. These $1 million houses, $500,000
right,
houses everywhere. Most of those people are not outdoorsmen.
right.
Um, and you do have people that make good money, but a lot of your outdoorsmen, we don't make that good of money.
Yeah,
And so when you come into that, you get the people, they're noodle fishing, um, and we all see what noodles do to the water. I mean, I see people put 200 noodles out in a day and fill the boat slap up, and it's totally legal. But
yeah,
there's a lot more pressure down there in that aspect than it is here. I am seeing it more here, but in the commercial fishermen, they got in Gaston too, and they were hitting it pretty hard. So, you know, it is what it is, and all we can do is just
roll with the punches, try to educate
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
and
I
just try to
agree.
protect what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's going to get better. The fishing may actually get worse before it gets better, but uh, guys like, man, these records keep falling. I'm like, yeah, because there's 15 times as many catfishermen doing it, and guys just know how to do it better than they did 15 years ago when we started really catching good ones constantly. But
Yeah, one of my biggest best regrets would be YouTube. I showed a lot of my used to be my favorite holes on YouTube. I gained a lot of success there. It gave me a lot of clients. It got me where I am today. But there's a lot of people where you see their biggest fish, and they'll tell you they caught it because of my YouTube channel.
yeah,
And but those fish have migrated, and people still watch it. But those fish aren't there no more. I mean, there's always some local fish there, but you know, but it helped me get to where I am. But at the same time, it also shot me in the foot.
yep, that's that's the curse of YouTube. You try to help people, but it also kind of hurts your home
But
fishery
you know that
because
when you
the
post it.
local guys all start. My buddies are like, Dan, you're like a damn star. There's so many people that follow you. How do you deal with it? I'm like, it is what it is. It used to piss me off, but I've had buddies that are like, just you know, take it as a badge of honor that people actually just want to follow you and fish. So that's what I did. I'm like, it is what it is. We live in a different age. As long as you're turning them back, come fish right next to me. Tim,
Yeah,
come fish right next to me. Just make sure you say hello. Uh, you
exactly.
know, you know,
I've had more disrespectful people in the last year than I ever have in the 7 years of doing this. And I literally, I had two clients on the boat, and we were dragging and we were hammering fish. I bet you we caught over 50 fish on the same drift, same long drift. And this guy was watching us, and he'd pull up and he'd start drifting beside me at an angle. Then he literally came and cut me off and started dragging right in front of me. And I was about to
dude,
run into his
that's
boat.
one thing that really gets me is when a guy, you got this whole lake, and you obviously are using me to find your fish, uh, and then you're going to set up right in front of me because
Yeah.
I figure to me, I precision drift. I know where I'm going. For you to set up in front of me is me thinking, well, like your mentality is I'm going to get in front of this guy and catch the fish before he can get them. Is that kind of how
Yep.
you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
That to me that's a sorry ass son of a.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I do love though is when people and it happens all the time. People will pull up beside you and start drifting, going down with you. And that's totally cool
Yeah,
because then it's like a competition.
yeah, no,
You
but
know.
hey, Tim, I like hooting and hollering with the guy next to me.
Oh yeah.
I think it's cool. But
I
I
love it,
also
man.
precision drift. So I'm going where my trolling motor's going. I'm not going with the wind. So if you're getting too close to me, and I mean, sometimes those guys are like going a lot faster than I'm going, and they can't control where they're going. Stay clear of guys when you're dragging, or get behind them. You can
Yeah.
still catch fish behind me. Just because I catch them doesn't mean you can't catch them.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I do have a lot of guys that get in front of me, and I still hammering them, and they ain't catching nothing. I'm like,
Dude, it's embarrassing, but sometimes I mean I remember one day in particular, the dude pulled up beside me, we drifted side by side, and he was kicking my butt. And and that's embarrassing when you got clients in the boat and you got someone, right there just hammering them and you can't catch a fish.
yeah,
But I was like, well, look, if he's catching them, he's got something different about his rig. So I start changing up and finally started getting them. And all it was the color of my cork.
yeah. Presentation's key, really. I mean, guys overlook that. I think that's one of the most
Yep.
overlooked things.
I tell people when you're anything, the two most important things is getting equipment that you want and that you trust. Learn how to handle your boat, either anchor fishing or drift fishing. Um, if you're anchor fishing, you need at least 6 foot of chain at a bare minimum. Um, and go out there some days and just take a top water rod with you and just literally set your boat up sometimes and move it. I mean, set your drift out. Don't worry about putting your rods out. Just go out there and pay full attention to how your boat reacts. And those couple days that you go out there and do that, you're going to learn it. And I say take a top water rod because every time you take all your rods off the boat, the stripers are just tearing it up or something.
I
But
know, man.
learn your equipment.
Trips I'm out there in the summer, I see the top water action just blowing up. I fish around a lot of like if in the summer I'm fishing around sand bass a ton. If it's in the winter, I'm fishing around striper a ton, and the top water just blows up around me. I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought a top water rod.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've done that so many times. Where like, sometimes my wife just wants to go out and she doesn't want fishing involved. So I will take all the stuff off my boat so I can't throw anything. And and been out there and they're just boiling. And then there was I had this little Dock Demon rod on the boat. So I broke it
Your
out.
son or what?
It's just a little bait rod that I keep in there.
Yes.
And it's like 2 foot long. And I'm out there catching stripers, just dragging it behind us on this little Dock Demon rod. And I don't know if you've ever got one, but the gearing system and the drag system just sounds horrible.
I was
Like
gonna
them
do a
plastic
I was
gears.
gonna try to do a video this winter, trophy catfishing with all of those rods in my spread. Just
Well,
I'm
we
gonna
should
put
do it
I'm gonna
'cause
put good line on it, but I just think that would be cool to go catch big fish on dinky ass rods.
we actually have an ice fishing rod, and I got one the other day, and I put my Penn Squall 20 on it, and
Yeah,
I meant to do it tonight and I forgot, but I'm gonna put it out there and try to catch something big on it.
yeah, that's gonna be cool. Yeah, I'd like to like trophy catfishing with kids rods or whatever, but I'll figure out a
We
good
should
day.
do try to do like you put multiple YouTube people in a show.
Yeah, we can split screen.
Yeah, we should try that one day.
Yeah, that'd be a good
We're
time.
getting a little service around our area now, but service has been so bad around here. That's one thing that hinders me a lot with doing live feeds.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Yeah, that kind of messes up your live streaming. I
Yeah,
know I
and
saw a deal that was on Facebook probably 2 days ago that said, "Do you have problems with gaps in your live streams?" And it was some type of, I don't know what it was, some type of device you use to be able to get service where there's not normally service. So
I know
I'm
Tyler
sure it can
Barnes
be
is
done.
running a
It's just
signal booster.
it's money.
Well, I bought a $600 signal booster and another $200 antenna thing,
Did
and
it
I
work?
gained 1 bar. Heck no! I sent that thing back. I spent $800 in this booster, and the problem was if I was by myself, it did work, but you can't pick what phone goes on that booster.
Right.
So you get 2 or 3 people out there, and everybody's on their phone,
Okay.
and so I mean, you can forget it. It ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
They suck the service down. But
Yeah.
and it's just I like being out in the middle of nowhere where you don't have the service. And then sometimes I don't like it.
There is.
Um,
There's a lot of
but
times where I'm like, man, I'm glad I wasn't live. But then there's times where I'm like, where I got it all live. My son did some really cool stuff, and I'm like, I could have never got that if I was trying to catch it on video. Thank God I
oh
was
yeah,
live, because I mean we had probably, I think his first junior lake record was on a live, and I wouldn't have got it if I was videoing because I would have missed. It wouldn't have happened. And then I think the lake record was on a live. And then when he broke the junior state record, it was live. And if I was trying to do it on my freaking GoPro, I would have effed that up. It would have been just like not, it wouldn't have worked. Uh, so there is something cool about live streaming because the camera's rolling the whole time on, and if
Yeah.
you do something cool, it's you got it. It's right there. So
Yeah, and you know, like you said, man, when those big fish get on, stuff gets so crazy, and I'm always like, golly, I wish I was recording that. Not so much for the fish, but because you know, me hanging in the water upside down, I've literally had to
yeah,
hang in the water to get it off my engine, and
yeah. It'd
I
be cool
mean,
to have that recorded. It's those types of moments really that you wish that you had to look back, like
yeah,
not even to look back on today or next week, but later on when you're hanging around with your son, you can be like, look at this, remember this? I bet you don't remember this day, or I think
yep,
that's probably the coolest thing about having that live thing going is uh, you'll always have that to look back on and reminisce. And, I think
yep.
that's really cool.
Well, man, I'm gonna lose service here shortly,
All
but I
right,
did
Tim,
also
it's
want to
been a
say,
great
you
night.
know,
We had a great night.
whoever's
We had a
still in
great
here,
crowd earlier, buddy. I think a lot of people have dwindled off and gone to other shows, but I had a great time with you, man. You're welcome back on the show anytime. I think a lot of guys learned some stuff. It looked like they were really interested in what you had to say. I know I am. I love you, buddy. So I
man, I
appreciate you.
enjoy you and watching little man grow up. And I
Yeah, it's
mean,
really cool. I
once you
wish,
become a
I know
father,
we've
it's a
talked
whole nother
about this
ball
before.
game.
I know we've talked about this before, but I just wish we lived closer that we could get the boys together and do some, trophy fishing and share some of these memories together. But we'll make it happen sometime, buddy. We'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Well, I said, well, one way or another, you hop on a plane, I'll pick you up.
I'll definitely do it. We're going to get it figured out here in the next year or so. So,
Hey, no, hold on now, hold on, a year or so. Come on.
yeah, well,
Tomorrow ain't promised now.
I know, but shit, school's starting back up, buddy. It's time for these kids to start
Oh yeah, you're
school,
right.
and I imagine your boy's about to start doing soccer and all that
Oh man,
stuff.
he's
So,
already doing baseball.
yeah, there you go. So you're gonna start realizing that those are pretty important parts of your life too. So it's not just gonna be all fishing, but
Yeah.
we'll
I
get it
hope he gets
figured
the
out.
sports part done early in life, so when he gets older, he wants to fish more.
My,
And
my buddies all telling me, "What are you going to do about the fishing part now that your son's going to be an athlete?" I'm like, "Well, fishing's going to be one of the sports, and it's going to be one of the main ones." So I know there's no real sport for catfishing for kids, but maybe by the time he's of age, there will be something like that. But to me, I think fishing's one of the more important. It's just as important as playing sports. So we're going to keep doing
it
that.
is, and it gets expensive. Just like anything you get into is expensive. I don't know. Me, I don't ride four wheelers. I don't do anything else except for fish.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you can dabble in it all, but if you go all in, it gets expensive.
yeah, definitely. Fishing is not cheap, but I think it just like anything that you're really passionate about, you get what you put into it, and the guys that really get something out of it, they're willing to put more into it. I'm willing to, for me, fishing is my life. Is pretty much the biggest part of my life. That may change with my son's sports and all, but I'm going to try to make sure that fishing is a big part of his life, even when he's playing whatever sport he decides to play. I know the impact that fishing had on me. Uh, the PBs, the catching the fish, the catching the bait, the learning of the cycles of life. To me, those are some of the most important lessons that I learned. I just want to pass that on to my son. I know you do. You feel the same way, Tim. So that's probably why we're good friends. And
You know,
I look.
and our kids will probably grow up and they won't care nothing about it.
I don't know. You got your kids steered in the right direction, and my son, he won't let me leave him at home. So, you know, if there's one thing I did right, it's definitely turning him on to catfishing. So, I look forward to seeing where you and your boy go from here, and I you know, I enjoy watching your, you know, how well you do at guiding. Anybody that wants to go catch fish, Tim's home lake is Lake Kerr. He fishes for giant catfish, or is it? It's Kerr, right?
Yeah, Kerr or Bugs Island.
Kerr, Bugs Island, two of the best fisheries in the country. And Tim is one of the best anglers in the country. One of the best guys you could probably go fishing with. He's been good to me. I'm gonna continue to be friends with him. Probably, I could see us being friends forever. So, go check Tim out. He's where can they find you, Tim?
Some old videos on YouTube, mainly running on TikTok, and I had to create
What's
a
the
new
name of your
Facebook page.
YouTube channel?
So if you
What's the name of your YouTube?
King's Catfishing.
Okay, and what's the name of your
King's
TikTok?
Catfishing, everything.
King's Catfishing, and on YouTube, your new page is King's Catfishing Guide Service, and the name of your guide service is King's Catfishing.
King's Catfishing's Guide Service.
That's right. You can find Timothy Daniel King on Facebook. Great guy, awesome dad, awesome angler. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, Tim, for joining us. You're welcome back anytime, buddy.
I really appreciate the invite, and maybe next time I come out, I'll have like a list of stuff to talk about.
We had plenty to talk about. We had plenty to talk about. You're like me. We can talk catfishing for days. So we do appreciate you, buddy. We'll see you. You're welcome back anytime, buddy.
First fish on your live feed.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, it was a good one too. So appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. We'll see you.
Azul out.